Okay, thank you, Georgia. Okay, welcome everybody. I'll call the meeting to order. This is the ordinary council meeting of the Buller District Council, Wednesday the 27th of May at the Clock Tower Chambers in Westport. Welcome to all the councillors around the table, to those of you who have called in online to watch, staff, and welcome to Alan of the news. Also today we have Alan Donaldson. Welcome, Alan, who's going to speak to us in public forum. So, Alan, if you'd like to come up to the edge of the table, feel free to have a seat or whatever you like, and that's your microphone there. So you've got 5 minutes, Alan. That's what we allocate for a speaker. I'll give you a little tinkle on the bell at 4 so you know how much time you've got.
Anyway, I won't need one of those suckers.
Okay.
That's all right, thanks. The reason I'm here today is I've been here 4 times over the last 8 years, and there's been a lot of progress. Back in 1903, the mayor was Mr. Scanlon, and they came up with a long-term plan. And they dug 4 tunnels, and they brought water down there to 3 reservoirs, and they brought it all the way to Westport. 1908, they dug a tunnel from Giles's over to the northern branch. So they had more water than we had now. So what happened over those years, in 2018, you should have seen our system. Those people back there who dug that would have been disgusted. I'm not saying councillors, I'm not blaming people. Hand that piece of paper around, 2018. So you don't have a look at it. And what happens because of lack of maintenance, because of lack of concern for one of the biggest priorities in Westport is water. And our water up there is one of the best in New Zealand. There's a guy here over 10 years ago said the same, a professor. The flow in the Irrawaddy River is far superior and stronger than Giles is. Giles gets a lot of sediment and stuff. The Irrawaddy has been blown out in that big flood. It went right down to bedrock. Okay? Now, when the ancients dug this tunnel through here, it kept caving in. So they put a water race around there. And they were able to overcome the issue. 2018, that's the situation. Looks pretty bad. And along came 2020. Mr. Duff came here, contacted a company in Timaru called Brunton and Hadley. And now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 tunnels, all piped, brand new water pipe, all because of councillors like yourself who approve and vote these things, all the way to Queen Street in Westport. We have a brand new leak-free pipe. What a magnificent achievement. That's a long-term plan. This number 1 is 1.2 kilometres long. This one that they dug was 340 metres long. A company has to come back and line that one, number 1, because it's only got steel. It'll wear out with sand and everything, okay? So when they come back, wouldn't it be a smart idea? Get the same company with the same gear. They drill through there, put a pipe through. They can go then. Our own local companies could drill to where we need it. And we would have that water back then. Just like they had in 1908. And speaking about the tunnel, there's been a feasibility study done on that tunnel by Brunton and Hadley. It's all been done. They just wait for someone to give them a holler. This is both ends of the tunnel that was dug in 1908, right there. In 2024, I went up there with Pearson's and Brunton and Hadley, and we dug up and found both ends of that original tunnel. But it's 340 metres, and you're over into the Irrawaddy, getting better water than our Giles, and a better flow. But as they say, the climate's getting drier, we're going to need more water. Westport isn't shrinking. No, Westport's a lovely place. And that tunnel, that was put in there at the same time as they lined number 1, we'll have a darn good system. And it's people like yourselves who vote and support these things, make a great difference. Because Westport people actually need a good water supply. We've got the right water, and things are going, they're moving along in Westport, and you have the long-term plan. So I know it's probably involved in there, but I thought I'd reiterate it today because there's new councillors, and it'd be something to refresh you on what we actually have. Right? We have a bang-on system, and it's something to be proud of. Bingo.
Oh, well, you finished on the bell. Well done. Has anybody got any questions for Alan? Deputy Mayor.
Just on the Orowati source, Alan, because I know we had slips further up after the 2021 floods. How exposed to slips is that Orowati source?
Well, you know, living on the coast, how often are there slips?
Lots.
Right?
Yeah.
And what do we do about it? We go in there and we diverse or we change or we fix it. But we got lucky in the flood. The water came down as high as the bottom of that screen. And there was the old original weir that they put there in 1903. There it was sitting in the river under all the debris. The river is now wider than this. The water is about this wide, but it's a better flow. And there's quite a few slips came down in Giles's.
Yeah.
Right? Thank you.
Councillor Reedy, who's joined us on Zoom, has a question, Alan, just behind you.
Yeah, Rocky, Colin here. I'm out of town at the moment. But in the past, just recently, you've been talking about the North Branch. Now I get the impression you're talking about the today about the Orowati. Has the North Branch gone? Has that been left behind now, or are you just mooting an additional source?
I quite missed that bit.
Sorry, could you repeat that, Colin? Alan didn't quite pick up the question.
Okay.
Please. Thank you.
Previously, you were mooting, you were calling for the North Branch. Can I be heard?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, for the North Branch today, Rocky, you're talking about the Orowati. Are you looking at the two working together, or are you putting more priority now on the Orowati? Just want some clarification, please.
Right. Mr. Weaver there. The Orowati, people have always known it as just the Orowati, and Giles's was the Orowati. But it's not. You've got Giles's, the Orowati, and I've been right up the Orowati. It goes to the base of Mount Rockville. There's about 1, 2, 3 tributaries into it. When you go out here and you look at Mount Rockford, from there you come right over, there's a big ridge. And that's where all our catchment is. Fantastic. They picked a good spot. So I hope I didn't miss what you said. A few bits here, but maybe I'm a bit deaf.
Did that cover it off, Colin?
Thank you.
Okay,
Very much.
that's great. Dave Hingston.
Great, thanks, Alan. I haven't met you before, but you seem like a really good bloke with a really practical sort of solution. And as I understand it, because I don't understand the water reticulation and the piping around Bulla, because I'm a newbie. So as I understand it, you're looking to build on success that we've had with these new plastic tunnels that have gone and carried the water, and you want to extend that across from the Giles through the track of the old steel pipe area.
No, this one here, Giles is there. This one here is a ridge, and the old tunnel 1908 was dug through it.
Yeah,
and it wasn't lined with anything. It kept caving in.
right.
So they built a water race around there.
Okay.
And eventually the water race was neglected and it all fell over. And
right.
But now that we've got modern machinery, they did all these tunnels. They had thrusters and pullers, 600 ton and 400 ton. They were able to pull a pipe.
Right.
They said this one here would be easy because it's only 340 meters. They can pull that straight through there. It's even got the right level. It's got everything.
Right. So pull it right through. And that'll give us some sort of future proofing
Oh, hell, yeah,
protection at a relatively low investment cost.
yes, definitely. Yeah,
Great, thank you.
and, yeah, so I just thought it would be, our ancestors were right onto it, and right now you got an LTP plan, so I thought if you really look at it seriously, and you're gonna do the town a great service, and it's money that's well spent.
Oh.
And you're the team that do it by the look of it. Yeah.
Glad you'll get you everywhere.
I'll have your paper there.
You can't beat that for a closing challenge. Thanks very much, Alan, and, sorry.
Thanks
Linda,
for your time.
hang on, Linda has a question.
Oh, thanks, Alan. I remember you coming along to our long-term plan hearing last year. Was there any discussion with staff afterwards about that? Because you did a similar presentation there. I can't remember if we resolved anything, or have you worked in with staff at all with this plan? Have they kind of said yes, that's possible, or no, no way, or?
Well, to be honest, it was rather disappointing because I'd gone to Timaru and saw the company over there and talked about this because I'd been here before. I spoke to Bernie, I went up there, there was about 9 of us went up there one day, up into the Oroway. Brunton Hagley, there was the guy at the bore, he was there, and a few others, and we all had a good look around it. And they could see the flow and everything like that. And I kept talking about this and talking to Bernie. She was there when we discovered the old original tunnels. And she said it was a good idea, but when you're working around laptops and stuff like that, I think you get out of reality. Well, that's the water flows down here, it comes out of the sky. We've got a range over there, we are blessed with the best water. Yeah, we shouldn't be buying water. One day we should have a water plant on Queen Street. We go out there and fill our ponds.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Good work.
Just a question, would you volunteer to be a tour guide to take some councillors up there and to show them firsthand?
Well, I sure as hell would like to, but I don't think I'm allowed through the gate, not because I'm banned, it's just that protocol these days. Well, but if you're not banned,
We'll have to talk about it.
and go up there,
So,
that'd be done, good idea.
so protocol out of the way, you'd volunteer, thank you.
Oh, yeah, I'm retired, man. I don't really care about work. This is my work. I've done 8 years on this sucker.
Mm.
So thanks for your time.
Thank you, Alan, for
And I
coming
know
in.
you're going to come up with a damn good answer.
Good. Thanks a lot, Alan.
Thank you.
Okay, I forgot to mention to those online, although you can probably see anyway, that we have Councillor Rutherford, Councillor Reedy joining our meeting today via Zoom. Okay, the second public speaker couldn't join us today, so what she's done is she's provided a written submission and asked that I read that out. So this written submission is from Jeanette Donaldson. Subject matter, basic infrastructure. Jeanette says closed toilets on Russell Street. Why are these toilets still there? So you can put a sign on them to redirect people, question mark. A signpost would do good on you, BDC and Westport people for having a few toilets, clean and tidy and square Bram Street. The next is an issue titled Weeds. Let's promote them. Let's focus on what works and remove what is not. It is your job to lift the town, not sit in decline and squalor, decreasing circles that lead to maintenance being done. If it's not functional, get it done, finish the job. This is not the public's job. We pay rates so you and the spraying company do their part efficiently, not to have it put back on the public. A grid system, you, the BDC, contract this job out, not to the public. Grid system dated when sprayed, so the company always know where they have been and where to next. The next subject is rubbish. For 6 months of the year, Westport does not have the infrastructure for tourist rubbish. They can't even find the dark, dreary bins, public plus visitors dumping in the street, in street gardens or just sitting in obscure places hidden from view. I know you'll say locals are using public bins, but the rubbish some locals are actually picking up is rubbish in their street. So why not as a public bin? Again, not their job. They pay rates. Tourists come for the Kiwi experience. Next one is community contribution. If every leaseholder on Palmerston Street went out once a week and picked up and checked their area around their shop, what difference would it make? Sweep entrance. Some do. Wash urine away from doors. Some do. Sweep dog mess to the gutter at least. Again, not their job. They pay rates to have rubbish removed, but what a huge difference it would make. The next topic is alcohol ban enforcement. Alcohol, like the dog control issue, I suppose you'll say you have no one to keep this ban in place. Yet half-filled beer cans and bottles are left in doorways and on the main street all the time. Even 1 litre spirit bottles dumped in gardens on main thoroughfare. Both bans were once deemed essential and necessary by BDC for the safety and to maintain the infrastructure of our town. Referring to BDC reply, quote, people can come in and complain. I can tell you they won't, not until the elephant in the room wakes up and starts work. Mode when people are struggling, when jobs are lost and it starts to affect those who think their jobs are safe, then it's too late. Broader concerns, people need to see a far tidier town to keep dignity, pride, respect for themselves and fellow public and safety. And downturns, as this is a worldwide issue, not just little old Westport, it's in New Zealand, it's in all New Zealand's cities and towns. More people come to town with no hope of work. This alcohol ban takes in Palmerston Street, Victoria Square and surrounding areas. Please keep our infrastructure in place, structure frameworks to keep order and best practice are easy, far better than now. Closing, tidy just looks tidier. Signed off Jeanette Donaldson. We are worth it, aren't we? Are there any comments from around the table? Or any questions I may go back to Jeanette when I respond to this? Okay, Deputy Mayor.
Sorry, I've just got a question of staff actually around the toilets. When we decommission toilets, do we remove them?
Through the chair, normally, yes. I mean, I don't quite know the history of this one. What I have found out is that when they were decommissioned, it was because there's a slight electronic component of that, and they were starting to fail, so they were decommissioned. It's quite expensive to remove. My team advised me today that they're in conversations with another council who want to use that for parts, and so we'll arrange, assuming that they want to complete that, we'll arrange for them to take them away and do what they need to do with them.
Cool, thank you. And I guess my only other comment is it's a fine line between us keeping rates affordable and, you know, we've just cut the maintenance budget again to keep rates affordable, and so you do what you can do with stuff.
Thank you, Councillor Hawes.
Yeah, just a point of clarification. Your Worship, just around, we haven't moved into the formal meeting yet.
No, we haven't.
And are we, I would suggest we have discussions at the point in time.
Correct.
We,
Good point. Yep. Yeah, that was just any questions that may have arisen for Janet. So thank you, Janet, if you're watching. And as Councillor Hawes correctly points out, we'll have a discussion at the end of the meeting concerning that. Okay, so I'll declare the meeting open. The first item on the agenda is apologies. The recommendation, do we have any apologies? I don't think we have, except from Francis Toomey, who thought he may be able to make it today, but if not, to put his apology in. Okay, so recommendation that there be no apologies to be received and no request for leave of absence. That the Buller District Council receive apologies. That's from Francois, and accept there's no request for leave, so that's not necessary. Okay, would somebody like to move that we accept apologies? Councillor Reynolds, seconded Councillor Hawes. All those in favour? Those against? Thank you, that's passed. Agenda item 2.1, members' interests. The recommendation that members disclose any or non-financial interest in any of the agenda items. Is there anything anybody needs to disclose? There was silence, so we'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Sorry, Tony moved, who seconded? Rosalie, I think, was it? Yep, okay, thanks, Rosalie. All those in favour? Those against? Okay, that's passed unanimously. Thank you. Agenda item 3.1, confirmation of previous minutes. The recommendation being the council receive and confirm the public minutes from the ordinary council meeting of the 29th of April 2026. Are there any questions arising from those previous minutes or changes that they may require? All quiet. Would somebody care to move that we receive those? Councillor Reynolds, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Thanks. Any debate? All those in favour? Against? Thank you. That's passed. Action 4.1, action points report. Recommendation the council receive the action points report for information. Are there any questions from those action points for staff? Deputy Mayor.
I just would like to, in the action points, I think we need to separate the Punakaiki campground lease out from reserve management plans. I think they both need to be in there as separate items because reserve management plan should be in there with that is coming up for consultation, and because it's a bit messy the way it is. We've got Punakaiki campground and then we've got a little bit about reserve management plans and asset management plans. So either we have them as separate items or we take out the reserve management plan part of Punakaiki, but I'd rather have them both in there as separate items to make it clearer as to where we are with each.
So you're just asking for a bit of tidy up and consolidation.
Yes. Yeah.
Staff, that's something you'll look at?
Yeah.
Yep.
We can do that.
Yes. Sure. Thanks very much. Okay. Was it Paul? Hold on, what have I got? Paul and then Linda and then Rosalie. Not you? Okay. We'll go straight to Linda.
I think just a bit of background for that, Shane. I think the reason why that's in there because we had been told hold off the reserve management plans to come, and then as you read through, they're saying, oh, actually that sits outside the reserve management plan. So I guess it's the commentary saying, wait, hold off for those. That'll be part of that, and then now they've realised it actually falls outside of that.
Yeah,
but I do understand that there's two issues. Yeah,
I did see that, but I just feel like both of them should be in there separate if possible.
Yeah, we can do that. Okay, thanks, Linda. Councillor Rutherford. Sorry, Rosalie, I'll come back to you.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Look, regarding the action point update, I'm a bit confused. There was a meeting scheduled for today to discuss the lease renewal, and then it says that the lease expires the 15th of November 2033. Is that correct? Does that mean that the lease has been renewed by the staff without keeping us in the loop about the terms, etc.?
Just through the chair. So the meeting that was held today was just about next steps there, campgrounds, looking at expanding and seeing what options are available. So the lease that is going to be CPI adjusted, the rent renewal, certainly not the end of the lease, councillor, I can assure you of that. There's been no discussions and it is quite some time before the end of the lease. There will be a report coming to council within the next 3 to 6 months. We said we'll bring it through at the end of the year as to how those discussions are progressing, because that is a councillor decision to make.
Point of clarification, Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
So tell me, if you can, how long is the lease for? What is the term of the lease?
Without having it at my fingertips, councillor, I believe it's 2033. It's up. It's got quite a few years left upon it. 33 is correct, yeah.
33, Phil.
All right, thank you. That's a
Okay,
concern.
thank you, Phil. We'll go to Rosalie and then to councillor Reading.
That was almost word for word what my question was, but so tell me, has the lease expired and you've renewed it? Okay, right.
Just for clarification through the chair, we've not renewed any lease. It was a CPI rent renewal. That's all that was been discussed. So it was just the rental increase has been adjusted in line with the existing lease. The lease is not running out till 2033.
And I understood that the rental was to be passed by the councillors too, because this is what this whole train of actions, point of action has been, because way back we were asking to be informed as to what the rental and to be informed as to what the rental was, because there were some hiccups there earlier and it was sort of well below market and we were asked to be informed. So you're saying that the rental had been agreed to
I believe
without our knowledge?
This has been set between a couple of different GMs, so with people leaving in between. So my understanding is that it will be CPI adjusted. Can't say too much more because of commercial sensitivities, but I do understand that there was something to come back to the table, but I thought that was the end of the lease. But as I said, apologies if I've got the wrong end of the stick there.
So when can we expect that? And I understand it's in committee because of commercial sensitivity.
Staff have today worked with the leasee. We're going to be bringing back a paper in the next couple of months as to what that looks like and what options council have ahead of them. That will be regarding the lease. As I said, I apologies with commercial sensitivity. I don't want to say too much further.
So clarity again, has the rental been reset, please?
I will need to get some clarification from the team because I don't know if that's been done.
Thank you. And the second.
Yeah, just to be clear, the rent in the agreement was set and there was a CPI adjustment each year to be done. I think there may have been historically some years where that wasn't done, which is what caused some concern. But the recent adjustments have all been set according to the rental agreement. So council staff increase it by CPI. And that's a requirement ongoing to the end of the lease.
Well, that's fine, but we were interested as councillors as to what that rental was.
And as Chrissy said, that will come
So
in the
that's
paper.
coming. So the second question was about the special purpose road, and you said currently consultation with NZTA. Whereabouts is that? What consultation have we had? How's it going?
We're coordinating calendars between the various people. NZTA have got a couple of individuals they need to get in line to come and talk to us, and that's ongoing. It's still a topic of discussion, but we haven't had a formal meeting on it yet.
Can I ask Anthony when that is, when a meeting is locked in, just let councillors know generally that.
I certainly will.
On track. Okay, thanks, Rosalie. And councillor Reading.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Two questions, if I may, please. The assets that are at the Punakaiki campground, who do they belong to, please?
So through the chair, most of the assets belong to us. However, some of the cabins and ancillary equipment have been installed by the lessor, campground manager.
Okay. Second question then, in the update, it says about the RMP, as the campground is leased with responsibilities for asset management and activity planning held by the lessee. So I would have thought BDC, because they own the assets, would still have some oversight on those assets and accordingly have it in the either the PAMP or the AMP. Am I correct in my understanding there or not?
Because the leasee controls the assets as part of the lease, we manage that through the lease. The RMP process wouldn't be the appropriate mechanism to manage that.
What about the PAMP? I didn't say RMP, I said AMP and PAMP. Would that not be some consideration there? Property asset management plan as opposed to asset management plan, no reference at the moment to reserve management plan. I'm only talking about the first two, Anthony.
Is that something, Anthony, you can check into and
I
come back
can get back
Councillor Reedy?
on that, yes.
Yeah, Anthony will come back to you on those questions, Colin.
Can we come back to the council, please, rather than just me?
Yeah, Anthony will distribute that around. That'll be great. Thanks for those questions, Colin. Are there any further questions? Sorry, Councillor Rutherford.
Yeah, thanks again, Mr. Mayor. Look, I just want to raise again the lease. Is it possible to circulate the current lease documents to council? If I go back some time, there was a real concern at this table that the length of the lease was virtually privatising the campground. I'm surprised that it now goes out to 2033. Probably accurately reflects the lease that was taken out at the time. I'm just wondering when it was first, what the period of the lease is. It must be quite some time, because that's going out for a further 7 years, 7.5 years from today's date. If it's been in place for quite some time, I would reiterate the concern of some previous councillors that when we give too long a term leases, it's virtually privatising something that's a community asset. So I'd love to see the lease, the conditions of it, and to give us the opportunity to comment about the appropriate term once it comes up for renewal. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor. Councillor, would you be happy with a high-level briefing document from staff, provided it doesn't breach any confidentiality, to bring you and us up to speed with how it is structured? Is that fair?
I think just having a whisper with Chrissy and myself, there are confidential aspects to it. However, because, as Chrissy said, there'll be a paper coming in the next few months,
Okay.
I think we should probably leave all of these actions to roll up into that one paper, because otherwise we will continue to debate it each time. So if we wait for that paper to roll everything together, and that gives certainty, and then we can provide the detail that's appropriate.
Okay, thanks, Anthony. I'm happy with that. Phil, are you happy with that response? Okay, thank you, Councillor O'Keefe, and then Councillor Reedy.
I'd like to move that council receives the action points report.
Thank you, Councillor O'Keefe. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hinkston. Okay, is there any further debate rather than questions? Councillor Reedy.
I was hoping to ask a question to follow on from Councillor Rutherford. But
Sure.
if we go back to update 9 October 2024, development of options for leasing and ownership of the Punakaiki Beach Camp will be undertaken following the completion of the wastewater effluent system and what have you. And there seems to be a bit of confusion for me about when why were we doing the October 2024? Why were we looking at options for leasing and ownership of the beach camp if it's been a lease up until 2033?
I think Councillor, that question staff will have noted, and again we'll wrap that up in the papers that will be brought back to the table. Okay, Councillor Hawes, did you? No. Okay, thank you. So we have a mover and a seconder. Is there any further debate? Okay, we'll put it to the vote. The recommendation being the council receives the action points report for information. All those in favour? Those against? Thank you. That's passed unanimously. Okay, the next item on the agenda, 5.1, is the debt management report as at the 30th of April 26. The recommendation being that the debt management report dated 27th May 2026 be received. Are there any questions for staff? Councillor Curnow.
Just a general question, really, in relation to paragraph 8 around the 45 properties that have been identified as abandoned. Can you, without going into specifics, obviously, is there a pattern? How would you describe those properties? What type of properties are they? Is it completely random, or is there, do they fall into categories?
There's no pattern at this stage. It is just random. We are looking through the detail of that, and we're currently trying to progress getting the 45 properties listed on a roll to actually push for a sale on that. So during that exercise, we're finding all sorts, like little pieces of land, odd pieces of land. So to answer you now.
Thanks, Craig. Are there any other questions, Councillor Sampson?
Yes, Is council getting notified or council to get notified of any sorry, yeah.
At the moment, I'm not too sure of if in this last year, I haven't seen any mortgagee sales come that has been finalized. So going forward, we could look at bringing
If
that
we
in.
were looking at doing that, it would come, you would be informed.
Okay, because it did mention here, and I had similar questions about abandonment, and you're going to do a paper next month, is it, on abandonment?
We've actually, for the abandoned land, we've actually resolved, isn't
Yes,
it? Resolved.
yes.
We've asked them to look, they're our debt collection agency. So they're looking at the process that needs to happen, and that will probably, once we've got all that information and we know what can be sold, what can't, what has a judgment on, we will bring that back through this report.
And that will sort of say where they are, what they are.
Yeah, we do have most of that information. Yeah.
Thanks, Rosalie. Just a question for me while I'm getting my head around all of this. These 45 properties are identified as being abandoned. So if those properties were sold, then council would be paid the rates due, correct?
Yeah.
And any penalties. But what happens to the balance if there is any balance?
So we'll get, dependent if we get an offer that's acceptable, that's over the amount of rates and penalties, then what we can claim is the rates and any penalties and the costs of sale, but nothing more. That's all we can get back.
Okay, so say there's money left over after that. What happens to that?
Public trust.
Public trust. Yeah, okay, thanks for that, Leslie. What have we got? Councillor Reedy.
And thank you, Mr. Mayor. 3 questions, if I may, please. The first one, or 4 maybe. If we go back to May and June 2019, I'm just putting some context around this, Mr. Mayor. May, June 2019, there was 2 agenda items that relate to abandoned land. And when one reads the agendas, Mr. Mayor, they will see that it was split into 2 tranches, 1 being Charleston, 2 being everything else. I appreciate COVID then came in and, if you like, disrupted the process. All I'm going to say is please refer back to May and June 2019 agendas. Right.
So your question is, Colin, I'm just losing track of it.
Okay, that was put into context. Can someone please tell me if they've gone back to May, June 2019 to look at what the original plan was for for abandoned land? Has anyone gone back?
No, we have
Okay.
not back.
All I'm saying, May, June 2019. Next questions, please. Sundry debtors. Rentals, $73,000. There's a good story in the paper tonight regarding debt from a particular, just putting context in here, from a particular organisation. BDC have declined to talk about individuals. However, I have heard that Paparoa Way have a number of vacant buildings or vacant premises that were taken up by WMS. Now, I'd like to know, please, whether or not we have outstanding debt on the rentals of part of that $73,000. Can anyone tell me?
I think, Councillor, the question can be related to whether there's any rent arrears of Paparoa Way, not necessarily who those arrears might be attributable to. Are there any arrears, Paparoa Way?
I will have to look specifically into that. That would require a bit of work, so I
Okay,
can get
thanks.
back to you on that.
Okay, staff will come back to you on that question.
Okay, two more from me, please. Regarding the amount that's showing on here for quite a considerable amount, I believe, 1.5 million. I believe 797K has been paid. I have, and I just want to say for Sahana, she's given me some information, but I have looked into TIO for doing an accrual basis on, for some reason, we're holding a lot of money on waiting for debt to be paid, sometimes up to 2 months. In the meantime, of course, we have to hold that debt, the ratepayers holding the debt. So are there any ways in which we can get a quick turnaround with NZTA for the monies that we owe, or they owe us, which we have previously paid on account?
Yes, Councillor Reedy, we actually have improved our turnaround times with NZTA significantly from where it was. We have between a 1 to 2 month turnaround time, like you've said. However, we've also got the payments that are happening between 1 to 2 months. So the cash inflow and cash outflow are adequately matched, as per the answer that I've given you previously. So we are not in a position where we having to face significant funding by holding that debt. It's a timing issue that is well managed because of the fact that we pay the suppliers on terms as well.
Thank you, Sahana.
Yeah.
Colin, one last question.
And one last one, item 17, 21K from another council, and it's been looked into. What's the story there? It's been sitting around since Adam was a cowboy, I understand.
Yes, so on this particular issue, the council was reluctant to pay as we did not have a purchase order, and that's an internal process that on their side that they've held us to. We've now gotten all the details. We've got a purchase order. We've submitted all the relevant paperwork. This is historical. It's now been concluded, and we are just waiting for the payment to happen.
Thank you, Sahana. Okay, I think some of these questions might be able to be asked before a council meeting. Colin, if you're able to do that, that would be much appreciated. Councillor Rutherford.
Hang on. Oh, sorry, no. If I can say, if I could send in a questions and answers, I would, Mr. Mayor. But thank you very much. I'll take the finger out of my mouth. Thank you.
Councillor Rutherford.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Silly little question. Again, I probably could have asked it before the meeting, but I'm intrigued by the fact that we still have an outstanding overdue amount for airport parking of $40. My understanding is that we're not charging for parking at the airport. Why have we even got that amount in there? Can someone answer that question, please?
Chrissy?
Again, it's just historical. And you know what, as we're working through these documentation and as part of our monthly process, we've included the review of this line by line. So we will clear out things that don't need to be there. It's an issue of having the time. We're currently focused on lots of other things, so we'll get it done.
Thanks, Ahana. Thanks, Phil. Chrissy, are we charging for parking?
We do charge for parking at the airport.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Rutherford?
Yeah, follow up. I know many people, including myself, who have asked to pay for parking and have been told there is no facility to collect the money.
Thanks for that feedback, councillor. Staff will take note of that and get back to you on that one. Councillor Webb?
I guess a follow up on that is the same. This has been asked before, but I don't understand the limbs as well. I thought, you know, that's a service you pay for. Once you've done your request, you pay for your limb, then it starts the process. I don't understand how they're overdue. How do we have $2,125 where it's if you don't pay, you don't get your limb, or they don't start the process? Or do we start the process? Yeah, how does that work?
These may be historical payments prior to, so I would have to investigate that particular one. There are some historical resource consent debts as well that we've done some work that haven't been paid. So it's a bit of follow-up still to do in that space.
Okay, thank you, Simon. Okay, are there any further questions? Okay, that's good. Okay, so the recommendation that the draft management report dated 27th of May 2026 be received. I'm happy to move that. Seconded by Deputy Mayor. Is there any further discussion? All those in favour? Those against? Thank you, that's carried unanimously. Okay, 5.2, financial performance report year to date. Prepared by Sohana, and the draft recommendation being that the financial performance report dated 27th of May 26 be received. Are there any questions for Sohana? Councillor Reedy?
Mr. Mayor, two, if I may, or one, if I may, to start off with item number 16. The statutory 7-year rates write-off. I'm not aware of a statutory 7-year rates write-off. I am aware, Mr. Mayor, that the Rating Act allows the Chief Executive to write off, in fact, sections 90A and 90C of the Rating Act allow us to write these debts off if they are not seen to be recoverable. So can someone please tell me what the statutory 7-year rates write-off relates to, please?
From memory, I think this came up, Sohana, at the last council meeting, maybe, where it was explained.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Would you mind just briefly covering that again for us?
Well, I look at rewording this, but in actual fact, you can't legally chase debt that is 7 years or older. So on that basis, we have to write those old rate debt off. So it's a legal requirement that you cannot pursue debt 7 years and older.
Thanks, Sohana. Colin, you have another question?
No, I'm just not sure about that response. Sorry, I'm aware of the Limitations Act.
Okay, but we'll ask Sohana to put a little note to you to explain that with some references for your
these debts should have been written off a long time before 7 years, Mr. Bear, just like the $40 that's been referred to by.
Okay, that's we'll stick to the point, and Sohana will come back to you with a note, and also on the $40. Can you just refresh my memory what we were going to do about that $40?
We will review it and write it off if it needs to be written off.
Okay,
yes.
Thanks a lot. Okay, I think we can afford that. You know, Ray, just make sure you pay your parking bill when you're at the airport. Okay. Okay, thanks very much. Okay, Councillor Hingston.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick question. Previously, we had some problems with the budgeting forecasts and the year-to-date spend because of the Excel spreadsheet system we had evolved. And I'm just wondering, is this done on the old one, or is it a modified old one, or is it the new one? And
this is the old one.
Okay,
This is a manual document.
so it's correct-ish or correct as much as we can do according to the old software?
It's correct. It's the budget that's been set. So the budget numbers are correct. It's what's in our system, and it's the actual numbers that have been processed in our system. Yeah, so.
I think councillor, early on in the piece, councillor Reedy, myself, Leslie, and I think it was Chrissy, had a bit of a meeting and a discussion, you know, about this, and I'm happy to share that with you, or for that matter, we can arrange a sort of a little get together where Leslie can really explain what's going on there, if that's helpful.
Yeah, it's just when I look at these figures, if there's a high degree of confidence around them, I can sort of, it helps me inform my future decisions with the council.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think the point that Leslie made at the time was that there are no accruals being made on a month-to-month basis or necessarily a reforecast with the balance of the year. So, you know, it's giving us a picture, but it's not 100% accurate picture as at the end of the month. Would that be correct, Leslie?
That was correct at the time, but we are now making accruals, so we've improved processes enough to be able to start making those accruals.
Okay.
We had a problem then. We still have a problem with forecasting because we just haven't got the time to actually do the work behind that forecasting. The forecasting that's in there at the moment is mathematical.
Okay, yeah, that's great. But the fact that you've now adopted accruals on a monthly basis is making it more accurate.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, that's good news. Thanks, Dave. Any other questions? Okay, did I move that? Did anybody move that? Councillor O'Keefe?
I will move.
Thank you,
The report has been received.
Thank you. Seconded by councillor Hingston. Okay, all those in favour? Those against? Thank you, that's carried. Okay, next item is 5.3 investment borrowings as at the 30th of April 26. The recommendation being that the investments and borrowing report dated 27th of May 2026 be received. Are there any questions? Councillor Kerno.
Yeah, this topic came up at the last meeting as well. I noticed that there's $1 million investment coming due towards the end of next month. And I'm not completely sure what the policy dictates are on this, but I would hope that there is flexibility to make decisions for strategic reasons. So, for example, there might be a locally community-owned financial institution which doesn't quite offer the top rate of return, but actually invests in our community in terms of sponsorships of significant facilities and other activities. So I'm basically asking, is there discretion to take into account other factors than just the rate of return on the investment?
I guess I would phrase that. What is the policy? I guess, is there a policy and does that include?
How much discretion is there within the policy?
Yeah, so the policy does allow for some flexibility. However, it's on the mantra of the fact that we invest to maximize returns for our ratepayers. Because if you don't invest, if you invest in something with a lower rate of return, obviously it impacts our ratepayers. And I know which institution you're talking about, and there is no link to any sponsorship in the contract with investing with them. We have to apply for that sponsorship.
Yeah, well,
and the other side of that is that's a commercial kind of business. Yeah. Where do we stop when the next organisation comes along and says, you know, if you apply to us for some funding, we'll have a look at it. You support us by doing this, but it'll be lower return, or how do we stop? Where do we stop? What's the?
I know, but it's a philosophical question. Do we invest our money with a local institution that is grounded in our community, or do we invest it with an overseas owned institution, which is what we're doing at the moment?
So Hannah, do you have Leslie, do you have an answer for that? I mean, you've got a policy and I guess you're applying that policy and the delegated authorities around that, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So I don't know, but what Ray's actually asking would require a change to that policy. Putting to one side the fairness question and equitable question you raised.
Yeah, we do have the ability to invest with them. But it's something like 10% of their asset value, which comes out about 300,000, which really makes no difference.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go to Councillor Reedy and then Councillor Sampson. Oh, sorry, Phil, I've missed you again. Councillor Rutherford, Councillor Reedy, Councillor Sampson.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Look, just to follow up on Councillor Kernow's comments, I totally support him. I think there has to be some further consideration given other than best return for ratepayer. We could find investments with some very shady organisations that would pay us well. At what point do ethical considerations come into this equation? So I think Councillor Kernow is probably coming from a slightly different angle, but I believe that we have to take a range of things into account rather than simply who's going to give us the most money. You know, I think you'll find that some of these organisations will in turn be investing in some areas that we don't want a bar of. And I think it's appropriate that we have that ability to have that discussion about where do we want our money to go. So support further discussions on this, Mr. Mayor.
Would it be helpful if staff are in agreement to distribute that policy?
And that's contained in the LTP, in the financial part of the LTP. I mean, it's something that we can discuss maybe in workshop as part of the LTP process, which we're just about to start, which would actually allow you to make those kind of decisions that Councillor Kernow is talking about, because it is a good conversation to have, I think, but as part of your LTP.
Right,
so
thanks.
We do have a draft policy ready for the LTP process, so that will be coming. So there are some changes to it. So yeah, you'll be able to get input into that with the new draft policy.
Yeah,
that's going to go through the LTP process.
That's great. All right. Okay, so thanks, Phil. Who are we going to now? Colin, Councillor Reid.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Three, if I may, I think. The first one is on item 12 of the agenda item, page 43, and regarding the increase in borrowing. It says the increase relates to 1.4 million purchase for Paparoa Way. My understanding was it was 1.3. Is that a typo or is it correct?
So the 1.4 million is the total cost with GST. It includes GST and any associated costs that were, for this particular sale. So it's sort of rounded up to 1.4 million.
Thanks, Hannah.
Yep.
Next question, Colin.
It's to do with item number 16. We have repaid our debt, the loan from DWC. It was in order to reduce the interest payable to DWC. The point about that, though, of course, is that previously, Mr. Mayor, this was going to be paid by rentals received for from the applicable cabins. Now that we have repaid the loan, there's no need for Refton Cabins to put aside the interest payments because we've repaid the interest. But in the end, we have since taken out a loan and the ratepayer now has to pay the interest and the principal. So I just want to know why, what was the reasoning behind, apart from reducing interest payable?
The interest payable itself was quite significant because the loan for DWC had a much higher interest rate than what we were getting at LGFA. And so it makes more sense to have gotten the money from LGFA and paid off this loan, and we will still use the rental received from the reefs and cabots to service the debt. So it has, in fact, a positive benefit to ratepayers, not a negative. There's no additional that they'll be paying.
Thanks, Ahana.
Okay,
Very well.
yeah, so am I, from that comment made by Sahana now, am I going to be reassured that that the ratepayer will not be paying for the I can't remember how much it was now, but the interest and the principal repayment on the loan that we've since taken out? Is that correct or not?
That is correct. There's no change. It's just who is being paid. Like I mentioned earlier, the change will be in favor of the ratepayer because there's less interest, and the payments will be now made to LGFA as opposed to DWC.
Well, I'm sorry to say, Sahana, that seems to be incorrect to me. One.
Okay, Colin, we'll take that offline and resolve that.
Well, hang on, please.
You've had your third question.
Item 17.
So, Hannah, if you wouldn't mind, if you can talk to Colin offline and see what we can resolve as far as that's concerned, perhaps circulate that around councillors too.
What about item 17, Mr. Mayor? Item 17, which is the third one that I had. You will note that 31 March, we had 3.7 million with Westpac. 30th of April, we've got 7.7 million. There has been no change in the LGFA loan facility, which supposedly gives us cheaper interest. My question is, why have we taken out the increase of $4 million against Westpac and not against the LGFA loan facility?
That is just a timing issue. We'll just wait till it matures. But so it's just a timing issue currently. We've gotten short-term funding from Westpac, and overall the funding will come from LGFA.
Thanks, Sahana. Okay, moving on, Colin.
That's it.
Okay, Rosalie.
Okay, it's following on from both Ray and Phil's, but on the BNZ coming up. At the paper on that policy, it's really tough and it's smart for our rec meeting because I think a few of us have got ethical reasons and different other reasons, and we've got a rec meeting, I understand.
I'm not sure that you might correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not sure this is a RAC issue, rather than a paper coming back to council, which I think, Simon, you mentioned this is going to be brought back to discuss with the long-term plan. So, I think it's a discussion that you need to have, we should be having in RAC, and I stand to be corrected.
Just a further comment, the team are overloaded with work at the moment with the just the wrap up of the annual plan and report, planning the LTP. I would just caution that we load a bit more onto them. It's very lessly, but I'm just conscious of the amount of work that you're doing.
Well, I think, okay, and it's been brought up again tonight by Councillor Rutherford, Councillor Curnow, and the response there was staff are going to come back to us. We can discuss that during the long-term plan deliberations, which are due to start in the not too distant future. So it will be addressed, Rosalie. We've heard from the three of you, so that's really great. Okay, are there any further questions? Okay, I'm happy to move that the investments borrowing report dated 27th of May 26 be received. Councillor Hawes is a seconder, Councillor Hingston is a thirder. Yeah, okay. Is there any further discussion? We'll put it to vote. All those in favour? Those against?
Name recorded, please.
Thank you. Gollum's against. Thanks, Ohana. Thanks, Leslie. Oh, you're still there, Leslie, because item 6.1, Risk and Audit Committee Terms of Reference Review. Okay, I'll read out the draft recommendation. Number one, the council confirms RAC membership to be reduced to 5 members inclusive of the mayor plus the independent chair. Number 2, appoints councillors A, B and C to the Risk and Audit Committee. And number 3, instructs the Chief Executive Officer to update the risk and audit terms of reference. Now, just for context, and that was included in the paper that this item was discussed, brought up at RAC, and the resolution to reduce the number on that committee was a resolution that came from RAC unanimously to this table. Okay, so are there any questions? Councillor Kerno.
Yes, thank you. Just a question of detail. I'm a mere arithmetician from Queen Street, but perhaps not a very good one. Why would we be appointing councillors A, B and C and not D? So we'd have 5 members, including the mayor. Won't we need to appoint 4 councillors?
I told you it was Ray that would pick up on that, Georgia, didn't I? Well done. A, B and C was an example of who, yeah, but well done, well done. Yes.
It's repeated on page 47 where it talks about 3 councillors.
Okay.
So it is 4.
It is 4. It is 4. Yeah, thanks for pointing that out, Ray. So that will need to change. So A, B, C, and D. We'll get 4. We'll get 4. Okay. Are there any other questions? Okay. Councillor Rutherford. Yeah, Phil.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Look, it's good that you've included, or has been included, recommendation 2, almost as though you're asking us who A, B, C, and now, of course, thanks for A, D, should be. But I thought you were going to exercise your prerogative as mayor to appoint people to this committee. Did I misunderstand that?
Yeah, I considered that, Councillor Rutherford, and thought I would bring it back to the table and let the table decide. If you want to do it, you can do it at the table today, or if you decide that you want me to go away and do it, then I'll bring it back next month and do it. But I'm opening it up as the way in which democracy works, so you guys can have your say as to whether you would like to be on this committee or not. The mechanics of actually doing that I'm not too sure of, but it might start with those deciding or declaring that they don't want to be on the RAC committee would probably be a good place to start. Councillor Sampson, I think, and then Councillor Hawes, then Councillor.
I note that it was a unanimous decision that we decrease the numbers, but that's a wee while back, and I just wondered why haven't we even got a status quo as one of the options?
Thank you, Councillor Hawes.
Yep, I'm happy to declare that I am happy to leave it to others on this committee. I'm happy that whatever discussions that they have, they'll all be brought back to the council table, and we'll all have our input at that point. So I'm more than happy with them, and the only thing I'd like to say is I'd like to see a variety on that committee so that we have representation that isn't just focused on one thing or another. It would be good to have a cross section of people. Just
point of order, sorry, in the nicest possible way, Dave. We first should agree whether we're going to reduce it, and then we can take the submission.
Yeah, why don't we do that? I think that's a logical way of doing it.
And I'm happy to move it.
Okay, if that's what we're talking about. No, number 1. No, we're going to look at them separately. So, we're going to take number 1, confirms RAC committee membership to be reduced to 5 members, inclusive of the mayor, plus. Oh, that's where that comes in, isn't it? Reduced to 5 members, inclusive of plus the independent chair. I got it.
Yeah. So
okay, right. Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any further discussion or debate on number 1? Councillor Webb.
Given being part of the council in the last term and having the PMO, KPMG audit and how we were criticised as councillors that we didn't have good oversight on the finances, I would be reluctant to reduce this membership. I think while we are working through some of those issues, those historical issues, I think one of the recommendations was that we needed better governance oversight. And I argue that it's probably better for a full council to take full ownership over that. And I would be reluctant to reduce the committee down. And also one of the points in there, it talks about that meetings will be more efficient. Well, I kind of think the job of the chair through standing orders and managing processes and that is to make sure meetings are efficient. So the argument that having less members would make it more efficient, is that saying that having full council meetings are not efficient because we've got too many members? Like, surely that's the job of the chair to make sure that meetings are efficient.
Yeah,
So
I
I will
think,
be voting against this motion.
I'll be voting for the motion because number one, we employed an independent chair who was recommended to reduce the number on RAC, and it is recognised as best practice, where a reduced number of people around the table, maybe with competencies that suit such and such a committee, bring back recommendations or resolutions to full council to complete that whole circle. So I'll be speaking in favour of the motion. Councillor Reedy.
And thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, it's not best practice, Mr. Mayor, because what it suggests when you say about reducing the numbers, and we're in discussion stage at the moment, I believe, best practice versus good practice. Best practice suggests there's no better way. Good practice means there's room for improvement. So, at the moment, as Councillor Webb suggested, we have quite a backlog of issues, a number of issues. I've been told that as a result of the PMO forensic audit, that processes have been put in place. And just as a reminder, Team Projects Advisory was suggested that we never had that council, be it RAC, FRAC or full council, did not have sufficient oversight. And yet, blow me down, last year, during 2025, we had the dredge master undertaking work which was not overseen as such. There's no independent oversight on that because no one really understood what was going on in terms of the port and dredge, as an example. So we've still got overdue annual reports. We have got issues with internal controls. A lot of this is legacy, and I believe that we require the full team at the moment around the table, because we have sufficient, or those who've been returned have sufficient oversight of what has gone wrong in the past. And I believe having a new independent chair, I hear where she's coming from, and I agree with the Auditor General that a small number is correct. Not a problem. But it's time this table realised that BDC have serious issues with the financing accountability and responsibility at BDC. And you might recall, hang on.
Point of order, Councillor.
Yes.
Can I just point out, Councillor, that the comment you made with regard to best practice is, I'll just make the point that that's your personal opinion, and it's not the opinion that is received. What is being proposed here is recognised as best practice, despite your personal opinion.
Mr. Mayor, if you go and have a look I don't want to get into discussion here, but you'll find that the audit office, which was previously referred to as the officer of the Office of the Attorney General, has said we don't use best practice now, we use good practice. But you just have a look at that. It's not my opinion.
I'll do that. I'll have another look at it. So let's
now what I'm
move on.
trying to get at there,
we've got a
Mr. Mayor,
motion. We've got a motion on the
and
table.
I've got 5 minutes, Mr. Mayor. I've
Councillor
got 5
Curnow.
minutes.
Councillor Curnow.
I had 5 minutes, Mr. Mayor, and you've cut me
your
off.
time is up, Councillor.
No,
Councillor
you did
Curnow.
not keep track. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Curnow.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Speaking in support of the motion, but taking note of the comments by Councillor Webb and Councillor Reedy, I would expect that, and I don't expect to be, I have no desire to be on the Risk and Audit Committee, but I do expect as a councillor to continue to take a close interest in what's happening. I will probably return to my old seat over there as an observer at Risk and Audit Committee meetings. I expect that all of the papers will come to the whole council. And a question really, will the public excluded papers for Risk and Audit still come to councillors who are not members of the Risk and Audit Committee, or just out of interest?
Yeah, if I can answer that to the best of my ability, is that even though we have a reduced number on RAC, that all councillors are still invited and can attend. They just don't have talking or voting rights. And with regard to the papers, I'll defer to staff. What's the normal course?
They would do.
You would get the papers and the public excluded too.
Yes.
Thanks very much. So I support the motion, but I would stress that I think all of us will still take a very strong interest in what's happening at Risk and Audit.
Okay, thanks. Deputy Mayor?
I just want to clarify one thing. I've got two things to ask. So finances is not now included in Risk and Audit, is it? It's going to be taken out of Risk and Audit. I get comments that criticise our finance when there are things that have happened in the past that and I feel like some of the comments are directed at staff right now. I'm not really happy with it. I do not want to be on the Risk and Audit Committee. I have enough to do right now, and that's not saying I don't take an interest in it, because I take a big interest in it. But I will follow it, and I expect whoever's on there to actually be reading papers as well. And if there's stuff that we need to be highlighted with it, it's coming back to us anyway. So I don't want to be on it, but I support the motion.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. We've got, where did you write that?
Councillor Reynolds.
Councillor Reynolds, then Councillor Rutherford, then Councillor Sampson.
Well, I believe in old adages. There's a lot to be said for old adages, and they've become old adages because they've been around a long time. And the fact that they're around a long time is because there's found to be a lot of truth on them. The adage I'm referring to is many heads are better than one. So I don't see why this number that may wish to be on the RAC committee will shrink through people's availability, as the Deputy Mayor has just stated. But I'd hate to think that any council that wished to be on it was denied a place because we put a number on it, because someone somewhere said they think it's best practice. I certainly don't think it's worst practice to have more. So I would like to think that anyone that wishes to be a member could be on it, and I see no detriment in that.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Sampson. No, Councillor Rutherford, and then Councillor Sampson.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Look, I'm curious how this fits in with our MOU or whatever it is, understanding we have with iwi, whereby by default there is an iwi rep on all councillor subcommittees. How is that intended to be addressed in regard to the Risk and Audit Committee?
Thanks, Councillor. As the recommendation stands at the moment, then iwi wouldn't be represented on that committee, whereas they are now. Having said that, iwi have a place at this table, and I know that the representative from iwi is, very busy guy, and has only attended one meeting or half a meeting here since we convened as a new council. I haven't had a discussion with Francois, so I can't speak for him. I'm happy to have that discussion with him separately though and come back to that.
So further to my point, as we know, iwi do not have a vote on the at this level at full council, but they do at committee level. So I take your point. Francois is pretty busy at the moment, but that's not to say he's going to always be our iwi rep. I think we have to give serious consideration to that aspect, that we have, by arrangement with iwi, agreed that they shall have by right a place on the table at our council and a voting place at committees of council. I don't think we should just dismiss that offhand without going into some further explanation. Exploration, I should say.
Thanks, Councillor Rutherford. Are there any further views?
I think I was next. Yes, I did ask the question about no status quo, and for that reason, I'll be voting against for it. Linda put it really well as to the reasons why it should be full council. We had our PMO report. It's all to do with governance. It's not necessarily figures, and I think we should be all capable.
All right, can I speak as the mover?
Sorry?
The mover, I can close it off and stay with that something.
I'm getting a bit confused now. Dave, did you have a question? Okay, Councillor Hingston was next. Yeah.
Yep. No. I moved the motion.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm just going to test the waters by moving an amendment following on from Councillor Rutherford's comments, just so that we do actually make a decision here. The addition of the words in recommendation 1 and an iwi representative.
So you can repeat that. So you're saying confirms RAC membership to be reduced to 5 members, inclusive of the mayor, plus independent chair.
And an iwi representative.
Okay.
I'm happy as is. Yeah.
The mover has just said that he's happy to accept that.
Dave's happy with it. Okay, so who moved that to start off with?
So Councillor Holston is seconded by.
Oh, you guys are happy. Oh, that's cool. Okay. So
do I reply
to the vote? Oh, go for it.
Thanks. One of the few I've actually moved. I accept the discussion and the points raised today, but I would say that the audit report raised those observations on better oversight and management, whilst the full committee was actually participating in the RAC. So I would posit, with the adage in mind, that what was your adage? Sorry, Paul. Something about
many minds.
I didn't note it down. Oh, okay. Well, I'd turn around and say, well, there's also an adage that says too many cooks spoil the brew. And I would point out that the RAC is not a decision-making committee. The only decisions it really makes is whether to elevate them or to brief the full council on its findings. So therefore, the decision-making ability still rests with the council. Councillors can be as well informed as they need to be to make the decision. But when we, I say, I don't want to be, had full council in there was a tendency to deal with other issues that were better dealt with in a full council meeting. And that's just because we're councillors. We like to address issues and we like to make decisions because that's what we're paid to do. But the RAC committee is not there to make decisions other than to make recommendations to the council to consider. So I view this as a streamlining of the decision-making process. And I would go to extremes and say, all right, what if we voted to expand it to 30 people? You know, if we're in a regional council, let's just say, it becomes cumbersome. So we're talking about trying to make it more streamlined, more focused, and to still make the quality of decisions that we make at council focused on risk and audit. And I'd also offer that, you know, whether the number's 5 or 6 or 7, it doesn't really make any any difference. The decision is what is a number we can start with, try it out, and then we can review it and amend it if it's not working. And I would strongly recommend that we just reduce the number, try it, see how it goes. And if it doesn't work for us, we can always change it back. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor. Okay, so
Just before the vote, so that means it'll be sitting at 6 members now?
6, including,
members,
yeah,
perfect.
yeah. The final. Okay, so we're going to put the first to the vote. Confirms RAC membership be reduced to 5 members inclusive of the mayor plus the independent chair, 6 members, sorry, 6 members, and iwi rep. All those in favour?
5.
Those against?
Name recorded, please.
Same.
That's not right. Phil, I think you missed Phil, didn't you?
I
You
got
missed Phil.
in the first one.
Phil, what did you vote, Phil?
Yes.
Okay.
4.
So what have we got there?
6, 5. Sorry, who was name recorded?
Colin, was it? Oh. All of them. Yeah.
So Linda,
Okay.
Colin, Paul, and Rosemary. Okay.
Okay, thank you. So that motion is passed. The iwi rep, I'll talk to Francois and give you some feedback on that, but Francois is on there, the mayor. So we've got 4 councillors to appoint, if we appoint, Councillor Hawes, Councillor Curnow, and the deputy mayor have said that they will not put themselves forward for that committee. So we have 4 councillors. How are we going to do that? Councillor Hinks.
So, Mr. Mayor, you mooted that we should just ask people in a round table discussion if they want to stand down from attending the RAC. I mean, you started that process and then I stopped the process, so we could perhaps continue on with that process and see if another 1 or 2 people are volunteering.
So you're suggesting just go around the table and say, is there anybody else who doesn't?
That's a simple method.
Well, I'm happy to process that. How about everybody else? Show of hands. Those in favour? We're not voting on anything. What Councillor Hinkton suggests is we've got 3 people who have said they don't wish to be on it. Okay, that we go around the table and see if there's anybody else who doesn't wish to be on it, and then we go back and ask the same question again. Is everybody happy to do it that way? Okay, so we'll start with Paul. Yes or no? Okay, so Paul would like to be on it. Shane is no. Rosalie? Rosalie? Ray? Yep. Okay. I was going to ask Leslie then. Okay, Phil?
If I may, I just, not overly comfortable. We were elected as councillors by our community. I'm not comfortable with withdrawing from any business of this council. Not particularly. So, what am I trying to say here? I would much prefer, if this is the way it's to be, and it is, we voted on it, that you exercise your prerogative as mayor to appoint people to this rather than leaving this, do you want to attend or not type approach? Because I believe we should all be willing to serve on any council committee, and so I'd much rather that you make the selection, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thanks for that, Phil. Okay, keep going to ask Leslie. Councillor Hingston. Okay, yes. Councillor Keith.
Well, thoughts as Phil, and that's what I voted against. I think, you know, so we've been elected by the public to serve. So, yeah, I'm not gonna say no.
You're with Phil.
Yes.
I don't mean that.
Yes,
way,
no,
okay.
I understand where you're coming from.
Yep.
Like I'm saying, I will never say no.
Okay. Okay, so I'll put you on the Phil box. Colin, sorry, I missed you, Colin.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And despite what I hear where Councillor Rutherford is coming from, but myself having a full understanding of where we sit at the moment, I'm going to decline the opportunity to sit on the RAC committee.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Webb.
Yeah, I agree with Phil. I'm not gonna opt out. I'm here. Yeah, I don't feel like it's appropriate to say I don't want to serve.
Okay, thanks for that. Let me just have an add up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 3, 9, 10. Okay, so that's accounted for all 10. Okay, so what have we got? We've got 4 who have said no. We've got 3 who have said, well, I'm not sure, Linda, if you're with Phil, you're happy for me, if it goes that way, to come back and nominate or appoint the people. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well, I don't know how else you're gonna do it because
Okay,
it's not.
Okay, so we've got 4 don't want to be on, 3 are saying, and 3 are saying they want to be on, which are Paul, Rosalie, and Councillor Hingston. So we've got 3. And if
I think you're misinterpreting the others that we're not saying we don't want to be on. So we are saying.
I'm just sort of covering off what I've written down here
right.
at the moment. Yeah, yeah, but I
Yeah,
get.
right, I do.
Okay, so just again, we've got 4 no, we've got 3 in the Phil camp, and we've got 3 saying they would like to be on. So anybody got a suggestion how we go forward from here? Councillor Hingston.
Make a decision, Mr. Mayor. The 3, you know, to be clear, the 3 are, they've said, yeah, I'm happy to serve, and I'm happy that you make the decision. So make the decision.
Okay, thank you. Okay, well, as mayor, I'll exercise my prerogative to appoint 3 of the 4 positions, being Councillor Reynolds, Councillor Hingston, and Councillor Sampson. That leaves 1 councillor position vacant. Is there any further discussion? Okay, I do need to put it to the vote, as I understand though, Dave.
Sure.
Yeah. Rosalie?
Yes, I misheard. I thought Linda said clearly that she.
No, Linda said that she was agreeing with Phil and with, what have I got here? Phil, Linda, and who was the other one? Tony. Phil, Linda and Tony are in the group that is not saying yes and not saying no.
No, that's sorry.
Okay.
Through the chair.
Happy to be clarified.
Through the chair. What we're saying is we would never say no because we're elected by the public to attend everything.
Mm-hmm.
So we are not saying no. What we voted against was a reduced number because we feel like everybody is obligated to be on it.
Okay, thanks, Councillor. Councillor Kerno.
Well, I think this is an unsatisfactory situation where we're putting pressure on you to make a decision here and now. And I think the will of the meeting actually is that you are the one that makes the decision. So the motion could be amended. Number 2, draft recommendation number 2 could be amended to that effect. And then you go away. You consider the situation and you report back to us. But we are giving you the authority under my proposed amendment. We are giving you that authority. I don't think we want you to. I don't want you to think aloud and make the decision now.
I agree. It's a matter of you know, that everybody's up for it because we want to do our jobs. But like the other committees, they have a set number. We don't all serve on all of the committees, so make it.
Okay, I'm personally happy with that, Councillor Hawes.
Yeah, I'm not particularly happy with the comments that have been made around this table, as though the people that said that they are happy not to be on this committee are walking away from responsibility. That's not the case. We're on lots of other committees. We do lots of other things. I don't see you turn up to the Inanga Community Board, for argument's sake, things that we do. So it is completely inappropriate for people to make that statement. We would quite willingly turn up if we were appointed. We have indicated that we have other things that we are doing. We are going to cover off our statutory responsibility by reading those papers, by being involved, and then by making a decision on those things in council. So we are not walking away from that, and I want to make that clear. Public are listening to this. They're listening to people just making disparaging remarks around this table about members and their willingness to engage in this process. So I just want to make that clear. That is absolutely not the case. And I'm sure everybody else that put their hand up and said, happy for somebody else to do this work, but we will stay involved.
Thank you, Councillor. Deputy Mayor.
Just want to reiterate that. I've been pulled into local water, I'm on local water Dunwell. I've been now pulled into reform. I have put my name forward for LGNZ for Resilient Community to be on that forum group. I have no time left. And so this, we've decided to lessen the number. It has to be a process around lessening it. I do not want to make it more difficult than what it is. And actually I took offence to that comment as well.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I've been advised by our CE, and he makes a good point that as we've moved, that the number will be reduced on the committee, then it falls to having appointments, because we have a RAC meeting coming up. We will not have another council meeting before the next RAC meeting. Having passed number one, then I'm required now to make a decision to abide by who those people would be. Councillor Curnow.
Okay, I wouldn't have quite thought, that wasn't quite my interpretation, but accept that CE's kind of interpretation. Okay. So we're saying that we are obliged, you make the decision and we have to endorse your decision at this meeting. I would have thought that we could give you the authority to make the decision going away from this meeting and then just inform us, and that would still satisfy the.
Yeah. Okay. We just need to update the terms of reference in accordance with that. If you're happy to do that, Mr. Mayor, I can do that outside of this meeting.
I can do that outside, then we move on, and
if the table are happy.
Yeah. Councillor Rutherford.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Hey, look, I'm a wee bit concerned with some of the comments I've heard about people feeling that they've been some way slighted or held to account. If I've implied that in my comments, then I take it back. It was never intended. I thought what I heard was just 3 other councillors saying that, hey, look, they've been elected, they're up for anything. I don't recall any discussion where individual councillors who had indicated that they would rather not sit on this committee were criticised in any way. I just want to make that quite clear and clear the air in that regard.
Thanks, Councillor. One more from Rosalie.
Yeah.
Why can we just not put everybody that's willing to go on and alter our first resolution?
No, I think the resolution's passed, Rosalie. I don't want to go back and revisit that. So what we've got is an amendment to number 2, suggested by the CE. And can somebody give us some wording, please, so we can.
Thank you for your patience. Georgia's just in the training chair at the moment, so we're just helping her along. So thank you very much for a bit of patience while we help her here.
I think I overheard that whispered conversation,
get-
and
we'll
I'm
get-
happy to move that amendment.
All right. Georgia will read it out, just for completeness.
I'll tell us if it's wrong.
Delegates the mayor to make a final appointment of the REC membership and inform all councillors of his decision prior to the next REC meeting.
I think moved by councillor Curnow, seconded by councillor Pinkston. I think we've had plenty of debate. All those in favour? Those against?
One, two, sorry, just
Oh,
one more second.
All in favour again?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Perfect.
Against? Councillor Webb. Is that everybody covered?
Yep, that's motion
Okay.
carried.
That's great. Thanks, everybody. That was, oh, sorry, and number 3, this shouldn't be controversial.
What's the appointment? Like that?
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so, and the last one, number 3 instructs the chief executive officer to update the risk and audit terms of reference once the appointments are made. Moved, seconded, councillor Hingston. All those in favour?
Discussion, please.
Yes, Colin.
If I may, it's more a technicality, and I'm asking the question, Mr. Mayor. It's my understanding that the council, full council, agree on the terms of reference for all the committees. We did that back in October, you might recall. So if we're going to update the risk and audit terms of reference, I'm only asking the question, should that not still be approved by full council? What are the rules in terms of that, please?
Thanks, councillor Reddy. Just give us a minute to check on
Yeah,
that.
sure. Yep.
Yeah, thanks.
So the advice that we have got is that we can bring those terms of, councillor Reid is correct, we can bring those terms of reference back to the following council meeting, but it would be retrospective and the table would have to be happy with that. But it's correct, procedurally they should be done before, but you're delegating the mayor to do that, to appoint those members, and then you're delegating me to update the terms of reference based on the mayor's decision. That will come back retrospectively, if the table is comfortable with that. So just to be clear, the only thing changing in the terms of reference is with the membership.
You happy with that, Colin?
Yeah, apologies, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy, but I'm just not. I'm just nervous around not following procedure. That's all. So I can't say I'm happy, but if that's the way you want to go, if everyone says yes, then so be it.
Yeah, okay. Well, just so I've got it right in my head, what we're delegating to the chief executive is to go away and make changes to the terms of reference that we're currently following in accordance with the appointments on a reduced RAC committee, nothing else. We've still got the terms of reference that we're working to now after this has been done, correct?
Yes, all that's changing is the number. So that's all that it will come back to the June council meeting with that changed number that we've just resolved.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks. Okay, I think we've resolved that. So people want me to read that out again, or we're all clear? We're all clear. Okay, so let's put that to the vote. All those in favour? So that, no, anyone against? That's unanimous. Thanks for, sorry. Linda, sorry, Linda. I didn't spot you there. So that's motion carried. Thanks, everybody. That was a healthy and interesting debate. You learn something every day. Okay, I do anyway. Okay, so agenda items, we'll move on. Agenda item 6.2, BDC director appointment and remuneration policy. This being prepared by Simon. Would you like to speak to anything, Simon, or just take questions?
Well, Leslie is prepared. I've reviewed it, but this is, maybe Leslie can just do an intro as to why this is required, why we've done this work.
Yeah, so the previous policy, or the one we currently have, the one's not been adopted yet, was last reviewed in 2004. So it's very outdated. For this new policy, well, this updated policy, nothing has changed in the actual procedure. That's still the same, but it's just been updated to bring it into the 2026, really, and has just made a clarification as to how we review the remuneration. It's what has actually been happening at present, but there was no clarification in the 2004 policy, so we've just brought that into this policy.
Oh. Yeah, how did you know that? Just in looking at the policy, section 2.2, that series of bullet points, fifth one down, no conflicts of interest. In a community as small as ours, that might be difficult sometimes. Perhaps a better wording there would be the ability to manage conflicts of interest. Otherwise, we'll not be limiting the pool of potential
Yeah, we should discuss as well. So we could change that to be managing conflicts of interest.
And then the other one, this is not a suggestion, it's a comment. Well, maybe it's a suggestion. Over on 2.4, where a suitable candidate has been identified and advertised and is not expected to add significant value, the council may choose not to advertise. Not entirely comfortable with that in the interest of transparency. It is probably a good idea to always advertise so that there is transparency.
No rationale really. It's just, it is practice that is actually carried out. So we've just included it in there because it was in the previous policy. And as I said, we haven't actually changed the process that was actually being carried out and in the previous policy. But if you want to remove that, we can do.
Yeah. Yeah, Rosalie.
I think it's probably okay the way it is, because having been involved on that committee in the past, sometimes you just don't need to advertise because those that are retiring put themselves for re-election, and if they have been more than adequate in the past. So sometimes, you know, I suppose you can leave it to just advertising locally, but I wouldn't see that a biggie.
I could just comment.
Points, but
yeah, I could just comment. I think, I mean, it does say may choose, and I think it gives you that flexibility. So because you may choose not to, or you may choose to. So,
what do you think of that, Ray?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sort of a principle involved.
Yeah, I understand the principle. Yeah. Any other questions? Councillor Reedy.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We're talking questions or discussion or both?
Questions.
Questions. I will. The question I've got is in 2.9. Where an elected member or council officer is a director of a CO, council will not receive the fees. In other words, the appointed person will keep the fees. Generally speaking, when a person is already in paid employment, as a elected member is, albeit part time, the money goes back to council. It happens in all organisations. The money goes back to the organisation, not to the person. So can I just have some clarification on that, please? Why?
Leslie?
There's no clarification. I think it was in the previous policy which has been carried over.
Yep.
It's an extra duty that isn't really council. It's not really council. It's in a CCO, so it's in another business. So I think it just relates to the fact that they're on another board. They're being paid remuneration for being on council, but they're also being paid a fee for being on a CCO or a CCTO, as it would be.
Well, certainly in the corporate world, what Colin is saying transpires because, you know, those people who are putting themselves out there for directorships in other companies or countries are full-time employees of the company, and companies normally agree to it to give those people an opportunity to go out and get experience elsewhere, et cetera, and that's what that money coming back to the company is compensation to the company for the time they would otherwise spend away.
Yep.
So Colin's quite right in terms of what happens from a company point of view, but you know, from a local government point of view, I tend to agree with Leslie that, you know, you're not full-time employees, you're contractors, you're not being paid a full salary as such for that. So I don't think it's unreasonable myself. Councillor Hingston, then Councillor O'Keefe.
Yeah, I agree in principle that that's a correct interpretation. Although, Mr. Mayor, I would note that would exclude you.
Yeah, sorry,
would exclude you from being a director because you're full-time.
Well, I'm not planning to be a director anyway, but
No,
I'll accept what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just pointing out, I mean, in principle, it's absolutely correct because you can sit on a number of different boards, and as long as you declare any conflicts of interests, it's fine and you get paid accordingly. But if we're going to go down that position of full-time, then, you know, mayors are full-time. So that would actually detract from your job.
I've got no problem with it, Dave. I just really like to understand what happens generally in local government, and you know, apply that standard, whatever it is.
So I have reviewed other policies while I've been doing this, and that clause is in there. It's in the other policies from other councils, and I've reviewed about 4 or 5.
Okay, so it's not unique. Councillor Reading.
Yeah, sorry, Mr. Mayor. Just carrying on what you're saying before. Okay, I hear what you're saying about elected members, but it also says or council officer. Now, of course, council officer, they will attend a meeting during the day. Most of the time, these meetings are held during the day, not at night time. So why would a council officer be able to double dip, please? Because it comes back to what you're saying regarding a commercial organisation. They're being paid by BDC in this instance. They take time off from BDC to attend a board meeting, if they was elected, of course. So therefore, the money goes back to BDC, not to the person. Yes or no?
So
Leslie,
we do have a flexible working policy. So potentially it could be that you have time off in lieu, or you're working extra hours. It's within a flexible. It would have to be discussed with the manager, of course. So it wouldn't be a matter of course, but there's no reason why they couldn't, if they can actually do their job in a flexible manner, rather than being every day 8 till 5 or 7 till 4 or yeah.
well, I mean, Councillor O'Keefe.
I'd like to move that we adopt the Buller District Council Director appointment and remuneration for council organisations policy.
Yes, Deputy Mayor.
I'd like to second it, but with the change that Ray recommended, which was 2.2, to change that to managing conflicts of interest.
Yeah, okay, I've written that down.
And I'll second it, yeah.
And we'll just let Georgia update that for us.
Section 2.2.
Yep, remove managing conflict of
No,
interest.
no,
Sorry,
change it to
change it
to managing.
Okay,
conflict of
thanks.
interest. Ability and management.
Conflicts of interest.
Yeah. You just read it out when you're ready.
That council adopt the Buller District Council Director appointment and remuneration for council organisations policy, changing section 2.2 to change it to the ability to manage conflicts of interest.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favour? Against? Okay, did you get that?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's unanimous. Thanks a lot. Oh, Colin, yep. Can't hear you, Colin.
You asked any more discussion. I put my hand up and you didn't say anything. So
I'm sorry, I didn't see that, but
yeah, the hand's been up the whole time, Mr. Mayor. And all I'm saying is that in 2016, the then Office of the Auditor General, and now, of course, the Audit Office, they have said quite specifically that they are not in favour of elected representatives being appointed to the board or to a CO, CCO or CCTO board. So I'm voting against. Name recorded, please. Name recorded.
So
Thank you.
Thank you for that. We'll vote against with you're voting against with name recorded.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Okay, so that's passed. Where are we getting to? 6.3. Oh, sorry. Georgia just reminded me we need to take a little bit of a break, so we'll adjourn for a few minutes and let's say back here at 5:40. Thanks, everybody. 5:40.
I.
can I just ask a question? Team,
We've got 5 more minutes.
yeah, team, before we get started again. Okay, guys, we're ready to go live. We're live. Okay. Thank you, everybody. We're back again live. Welcome back to everybody, or anybody who was watching previously. We're up to item 6.3 on the agenda, wastewater stormwater separation program update from Jess Curtis. Jess, would you like to speak to the paper or just take questions?
Happy to take questions.
Okay, cool. Questions for Jess? Anybody? Councillor Reynolds.
I believe the targeted rate's going to be included within the general rate. So I did hear that somewhere, and I presume that in that case the ratepayers won't know what they're going to be charged. So what is the rate that each ratepayer will be charged? I've got a few questions. I'll say them together. So what is
one at a time, Paul? So
need to relate a wee bit.
Oh, okay. I forget. Yeah.
I believe it's going to be incorporated in the general rate. So I want to know what figure that is that goes in the general rate that each ratepayer will be
Can I
paying.
just, in terms of that, the funding for this was identified through the LTP as a targeted rate. So I'm not sure where the general rate conversations come on.
So what is the figure they'll be charged?
I don't recall it off the, it should be in the long-term plan, but unfortunately I don't have that information on me at hand.
I know it's in the long-term plan, but the long-term plan was put out before we joined the Local Government Funding Association, and the name was based on a higher rate of interest than you'll be getting. Therefore, it should reduce the per property rate. So if it's the same figure, then it's overcharging because your loan will be at a cheaper rate. I'll move on to the next question, which is who will pay?
Well, it's through targeted rates for ratepayers. Those properties connected to the Westport water treatment plant.
Okay, so the next question is, will it be all properties that have a toilet connected to the wastewater treatment plant? Tell me the list of exemptions who won't be paying.
It is all properties that are connected to the wastewater treatment plant.
So council's property on Paparoa Way, will each of those be paying?
If they're connected to the wastewater treatment plant.
They're connected with one connection, I believe. So will it be per property or will it be?
We didn't break it down to, the way targeted rates are defined as properties that are connected to the wastewater treatment plant in Westport and Carters Beach. And that's the definition that we've used to identify the funding.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Jess. Are there any other questions for Jess? Councillor Rutherford.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, look, it's in relation to the resource consent application mitigation program. You know, you've indicated the number of times it was exceeded in the past. So can I ask, what are the terms of the resource consent we're currently applied for? Previously, to overflow, 263 hours in any calendar year. So what's our new consent application asking for?
That's what we're working through at the moment. At the moment, what we were asked to do was provide a mitigation strategy, which the separation program allows us to actually respond to say that this is what we're trying to do to reduce our overflows into the Buller River. Then what we'll be doing is providing some, what we would like to do, draft consent conditions. And so that would be around how the mitigation strategy would play out over time, aiming for having no overflows into the Buller River, unless there's, say, long-term power events or a significant storm above and beyond, say, the orange warnings that we get through spring. But at the moment, we haven't heard back from regional council. We have to submit that for the regional council to come back and give us consent conditions.
So if I may, Mr. Mayor, to follow up on that, I understand we've already undertaken some mitigation in terms of how we handle our, stormwater runoff from excluding private connections. Could we have not applied for a resource consent using that as our mitigation, which would clearly reduce the number of hours we applied for anyway, and maybe meant that all this work was actually an unnecessary cost?
When the research was undertaken a couple of years ago, there was 611 properties identified. So the total volume collected on the roofs of these properties is what increases the level of stormwater into the system, and that's what we're trying to reduce. So it was understood at the time that the volume of private properties connected to the system actually significantly increases stormwater into the network as opposed to the public assets. Through doing the Roebuck connection, so the report shows that the testing in 2021 was possibly 3 times less than what actually we might be finding. And so then the amount of stormwater going in from private homes would be significantly more than what we thought even back in 2021, 2022.
Thanks, Jess. Can I answer your question, Phil?
Not really. We've already taken mitigation in terms of the non-private. What now is the residual number, and could have we applied for a resource consent on that basis?
Don't have the residual number on me. In terms of applying for the consent, we had already applied for the consent. The request for information was what triggered the need for a larger mitigation strategy, and that's what the separation program was aimed to achieve.
Thanks, Jess. Any other questions? Phil, do you have any more?
I'll move on.
Okay, thanks, Phil. Okay, so there being no further questions, we have a mover to recommendation that the wastewater stormwater separation program update dated 27th May 26 be received. Moved by Councillor Hawes, seconded by Councillor Hingston. Any further discussion? All those in favour? Those against? Thank you. That's passed unanimously. Okay, we're on to item 6.4, simplifying local government head start. I won't read out all the draft recommendations just yet, or maybe if you'd like me to, I can. Okay, we'll just hand over to Paul. Would you like to speak first, or just take questions on your paper?
I'll speak first.
Okay, over to you, Paul.
Thank you, Nightly. So councillors, as discussed briefly in the briefing in the previous week, this is a continuation of the simplifying local government reform process. So as a quick reminder, the Resource Management Act is being replaced. That will be placed with 2 separate bills. Because the Resource Management Act is changing, there will be no regional council in 2 years' time. Status quo is not an option. This has come through clearly in signals from central government. Reform is occurring at central government and at a local government level. Previously, the council made a decision to proceed with Mayor's Chair's iwi forum and do a joint submission as well as its own submission to the previous round. Since then, government has announced the Head Start pathway. This essentially is the same reform program sped up significantly. So by August the 9th, we provide a draft proposal to government with Mayor's Chairs and iwi forum that looks at the future of local government. There is no predetermined outcome in terms of what this looks like. In this reform, there are both issues and opportunities. The issues that we've discussed in previous workshops around local identity, the geographic, the extractive industries, etc., the things that do make Bulla unique. On the opportunity side of this, we also have to acknowledge that this is the largest reform since 1989. There have been structural constraints and issues on the West Coast and in the Bulla district that there may be an opportunity in this reform to address. We have discussed localism as an opportunity for that. So at the moment, we are keen to get cracking. Staff have put a recommendation forward to say head into the Head Start program. This is based on some of the conversations that have been had at previous briefings as well. Today is just seeking to formalise that. I do want to make a couple of points. The engagement around this will be preliminary only. So stage one between now and August the 9th will be a light touch on community engagement. The dates pegged at the moment are looking at the week of the 22nd to 3 community engagement workshops in the Bulla district in Karamea, Westport and Reefton. This is not full deep engagement, let alone consultation. It is a litmus test with our communities to see what we are trying to fix in this reform. So identifying the problem definition first and foremost before we move into a reform program. The government has made it clear that no is not an option. There are 3 different yeses. One is to head into the Head Start program, where we essentially get to work with our neighbours to look at what does the future look like. And another version of yes is we don't go into Head Start, and 2 out of 3 of the councils on the West Coast will proceed without us, and we won't be at that table. The final option is a backstop process, where the government has said if you refuse to enter willingly into this process, we will activate a backstop to be decided at a later point in time. In the briefing, we discussed this at a high level, and today is an opportunity for us to debate this as a round table. I really look forward to the conversation. Happy to field any questions from there.
Thanks, Paul. I have one question, just to clarify. If we join Head Start with the other 2 councils, on the 9th of August when we go back, there's no final decision being tabled with central government at that stage.
Absolutely agreed. And another point to make is prior to that, the proposals will come back to this table, including the engagement findings from the early outing. Mayor's Chair's iwi forum does not have delegated authority to make decisions on behalf of the Bulla District Council. That is your role and your role alone in this process.
Thanks, Paul. Deputy Mayor. Oh, sorry. Councillor Rutherford.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Look, I absolutely concur. We need to engage. But my question is this: if we adopt these recommendations that we are presented with tonight, how will that impact on any potential future discussion we might want to open up outside the coalition of Greymouth and West Coast? So I guess, for example, if someone came up with a bright idea and said, "No, we've just had an address from Sports Tasman. Look at their area. Isn't that a nice, tidy little package for us to be part of?" And so, suppose someone came up with that as a concept, but Greymouth and Western didn't want a bar of it. Would we still be able to hold conversations outside the coalition of our 2 partners? Or will this tie us down to only moving forward with agreement within that group?
Thank you kindly, Councillor Rutherford, and a really, really good question. So in your original submission in the early stages, you had clearly articulated that you wish to make decisions based on evidence of a best outcome for this community. That included in your submission the ability to look at other reforms. So to look north, Nelson, Tasman as an example. This agreeing to work with Mayors, Chairs and iwi Forum does not bind you to working exclusively with the coast. What we've put forward in previous submissions is to keep all options open and to be able to validate those through a process and clear evidence. There are always going to be differing points of view in this. That is what the engagement process will tease out over the next couple of years as well. When we look at the criteria in both the reform and the Head Start process, it discusses catchments, it discusses economic links, it discusses roading links. Arguably, we have those links with more than just the southern districts. We also have them with the northern as well. So clearly articulate in our submission, we wish to have several options to explore in this process and not be pushed into a option without clear evidence and support for that option.
Thank you, Paul. Councillor Hawes.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Understand that process around our local council. I just wondered if you have any thoughts around the fact that you've got an option to go unitary, you've got an option to go joint unitary, or are we prepared to explore other options for the way in which the West Coast Regional Council and other regional councils could be combined into a different entity, a larger entity that has economy of scale, given that their undertaking is largely engineering in some respects in terms of catchment maintenance, etc., etc. And there's definitely economies of scale and efficiencies of having expertise more centralised rather than district.
A really valid point. So this is something in a natural hazard space as an example. There are functions that are executed at a regional level at the moment. Regional council struggles to attract staff into those roles. At a local level, if you have 3 councils essentially splitting the roles of regional council, you will have to up that staffing base by 3 and try and find that expertise. There will always be a rationale in looking at economies of scale and looking at shared service models. We already do a lot of these. Those aren't new news at all to the district or the region. It's where is that line drawn? I think this reform genuinely gives us an opportunity to look under the bonnet and see what is and isn't working. Because we need to be honest in this reform and say, there are things that are not working at a district level. There are many and varied reasons for those. I've provided a series of documents to the governance table to explore that. What has happened since 1989? So I think as we look to these models, as we see what are the core critical local functions that we need to have communities and staff and governance tables around, what are the functions that can be shared at a wider level, whether that's regionally to the south or north as well. I think this is part of the process. What I would encourage is a very strong set of thinking and debate around this for the foreseeable future. There are certainly opportunities in how the reform program was initially put. There are dots to join between the regional deals framework and this as well. They were both pitched at the same time by the government to look at what is the relationship between central government, regional, local, and the communities. And how do we get the best outcome for the next 40 years in this space? Make no mistake, this is the biggest reform since 1989, and there will not be another shot at this. I will be 80 before the next round of reform occurs.
Thanks, Paul. We've got Deputy Mayor, then Councillor Hingston, then Councillor Reynolds.
I just want to clarify, Paul, I think maybe I've got 2 questions. Thanks, Mayor, if that's okay. For anybody or public watching this, that around if Westland and Grey had decided to go ahead without us, that they could actually pull us into something that we had no voice in. That's correct, is it?
That is correct. So if you look at the Head Start pathway documents, 2 out of 3 of your regional council or territorial authorities within a region or on a population basis as well. So there's a set of criteria and how you can move ahead. I want to be very clear though, that it also says in there, If there are valid and evidence reasons as to why an amalgamated unitary council should not go ahead, then there is an option for multiple unitaries in one region. I do not say that that is a preferred choice by any stretch of the imagination. We do not have the evidence to make those decisions, but there are optionalities in there. But absolutely, at a regional level, if 2 out of 3 councils were to proceed, we would still be proceeding.
So by joining this process, this gives us the opportunity as a region to look at who we are as a low population, massive piece of land. We don't have to follow what has been done elsewhere. This is our opportunity to do something that suits who we are as a underpopulated, underfunded, fast region.
I would argue it's imperative that we take that approach. As we've discussed multiple times, these stresses at a governance table around revenue in versus cutting services, these aren't going to go away. So by combining 3 councils together, it's similar to local water done well. It will be more affordable, but that doesn't mean it's actually affordable. So this is the crunch point we find ourselves in. Is there an opportunity in this? Absolutely. Should we be in discussions with central government about what this reform program looks like, what we need to change at a structural level, not just for ourselves, but in our relationship with central government? Absolutely. 84% of our district is national park and therefore unrated. That is something unique for us. Our key primary industries are extractive. When those resources are gone, those industries are gone. We have several unique reasons to go to government with an eloquent pitch to look at what the next 40 years looks like for our district.
Thanks, Paul. Councillor Hingston.
Yeah. So 2 questions. And the first one is, in the discussions that we had on local government and well with the Zoom conference I attended, they said that pretty much 50,000 people was the sort of critical mass around that for a unitary government to work well, from 50,000 up. We're at 37,000 with the other 2 districts altogether. So is that factored, and you sort of answered in the last question, is that uniqueness, you know, take Buller aside and look now at the West Coast, huge, long geographic area, 30,000 people, and all those unique attributes of the district that you point out run true for the region as well. So even by the numbers given, I think we need to consult with existing unitary other existing unitary councils. Have we done any consultation directly with them?
Not that I'm aware of to that extent. I will just pick up on the economies of scale. That is one of the criteria that the government does look for in the reorganisational plans. Arguably, combining 3 very small councils into one slightly small council is not going to provide an economies of scale. So the Martin Jenkins work that was done in the 2018-19 local government commission work, it did point to economies of scale. There are some shared service models that do make sense. But when you're looking at a full unitary council over a massive area such as ours, it'll be interesting to see what that evidence comes back at. But we're getting some advice through those online briefings as well, saying the sweet spot for a unitary to actually be able to cut its own costs is 50,000. I still think, though, there is a danger that we are overlooking the actual conversation of reform. It is happening in Wellington. It isn't exclusive to the West Coast, and it is happening in the country. When this was first pitched in terms of the previous election, this was about looking at how do local decisions get made? How do we look at funding and how do we look at taxation differently? We are the most centralised country in the world. 90% of all taxation revenue in and out goes through Wellington. No other country gets close to that. The conversation is also about how do we make this work for those small regions, those regions that don't have economies of scale, who do have infrastructure deficits, and yet have incredibly profitable private sector businesses too. I think that is the conversation of reform.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. And I just have a second question, and it should be a rough easy one, although I don't think the solutions can be easy. About a large community engagement process. Full feelings, compassion on this. What type of life touch community engagement look like? Thanks.
So Ned shares an iwi, and so Grey District yesterday approved to get into Head Start. Now it's our turn, and then Westland follows after that. If all the councils choose to proceed, there is a working group established under Mayor's Chairs and iwi forum, of which I am the Buller representative. We've been starting to look at indicative comms and engagement strategies on the assumption that there would be an approval to proceed. The light touch is exactly that. We're under significant pressure. We do not have bums on seats just waiting for additional work streams to come in. These are run off the side of our desk currently. So we have a very tight timeline to go back out to the community. Some other districts are choosing not to and exclusively go online. Through the working group and through what I've been fed by yourselves and executive leadership team here, my understanding is that is not acceptable to the Buller District. I would love some validation of that, and hence we're pushing ahead hard to have those community briefings and drop-ins as best we can, mixed with the online engagement platform. That is for stage 1, which takes us through to the 9th of August. It's what happens after that. So the way that I've been describing it is we go pre-engagement now, which is testing, what's broken, what should we be fixing, and do you have ideas? Post the 9th of August, then we move into engagement. And then over the next 2 years, we pivot into consultation. So they are distinctly different. Pre-engagement is lighting the bonfire. Engagement is sitting around the bonfire, and consultation is moving on to the next bonfire, essentially. That helps.
So many analogies tonight, isn't it good? Yeah, I've got Colin on the list. So we're over to, thanks for that, Paul. That was a good question, Dave. Councillor Reynolds.
Yes, the article on localism was very good. It's been around a few years, but it says it all, and it says it very goodly, very well. Unfortunately, the government hasn't read it, or they haven't paid any attention, it appears, because what's been identified in here is it's a nail on the head. I think we've got to push absolutely strenuously to come up with their own solution, because we're not going to get it provided by people from outside the region, because they've got their own views and they do not understand us. They didn't understand us in 1989 when they created the likes of the regional council, which was basically left this area as an outpost, as an outlier. And seeing we have the largest flood flow in the country and the river right on our doorstep.
Great point of order, and again, in the nicest possible way I can. Is there a question there, or are we getting into discussion? Sorry.
Carry on, Paul.
To make us an outlier of another area even further away isn't going to be an advantage. Do you not see that as a standalone unitary council with the functions of the regional council here would be the best for this region?
Personally, I don't have an opinion on it. What I do have is a submission from the Buller District Council that says we want evidence-based decisions, and that is what I will stick to, Councillor. So as we move through the process, and make no mistake, one of the options will be a Buller unitary. Evidence will tell us to an extent what is right and wrong, but as you have correctly identified, you know this district, you know this area, you know the constraints, and so do your communities. So I'd encourage you to activate those communities for the submissions as well, to take it outside of this room, to have the discussions with the community on what is and isn't working. Some of it will be painful because there'll be own goals. There'll be people talking about what the council doesn't do well either. So we need to address these. We need to tackle these head on. As to my position, I don't have one. To be completely honest, we will test and we'll stick to what we've put forward in those submissions as well.
So do you see the parallel between, if we made if we amalgamate all councils on the coast, then we as an extremity from a more homogenous unit between Grey and Westland is in an exact parallel with what was created with the regional council, and that the regional council and all its problems is within the sphere of the West Coast Regional Council's domestic area, whereas Buller's over the horizon and nothing was done. There's a real parallel.
Oh, absolutely. We see the parallels. Absolutely, of course. Yeah.
Very good.
That's what we've got to work through. I'm a bit confused. I think you were next, Ray, and then Colin.
Right. I'm trying to frame this as a question to Paul. Paul, is it not true No, is it not true that we actually don't know? We use this term unitary councils. And in our minds, we're thinking, oh yeah, unitary council would be an amalgamation of district council roles and responsibilities with regional council roles and responsibilities. But in actual fact, the legislation is going to take away a lot of the regional council responsibilities and place them somewhere else. Or some of them are going to disappear altogether, and some of them are going to go to central government. So when we talk about a unitary council, we're actually talking about a beast that is actually, we can't really tell what that beast is like. So I know that when we were on the Zoom the other day, the chief executive from Tasman said, oh, you've got to have 50,000 people. But that's under the status quo situation. We're actually looking at moving towards something that will look, you know, for example, is it not true that if Bulla was a unitary council, it would have quite different functions to the functions that the Tasman District Council or the Marlborough District Council currently have? You know, we just got to keep our options open on this. There's a long way to go. Is that not true, Paul?
There was quite a bit in that, councillor. So if anybody can give me a good synopsis of the replacement for the Resource Management Act being the Natural Environment Bill and the Planning Bill, if I'm not mistaken, those will look at the functions and the obligations of local authorities, and I'll step away from territorial or regional. We are not there. However, there is a lot in those bills that is public as well. So this reframing of removing regional council under a two-tier governance approach of the RMA is what's setting the platform for it. As to the functions, they have been indicated in the planning bill and the natural environment bill, what the expectations around hazard management, spatial planning requirements, etc., will be over the next couple of years. So a lot of those functions will be similar but slightly tweaked and different based on central government legislation. These change on an iterative and consistent basis, and we're always adaptable as local councils to those central government changes. However, again, the point of reform is to look at what decisions are made centrally in Wellington, regionally to locally. Now, that is it. There are other conversations such as health or aged care or transport that might be part of the considerations as well in the reform process of where should those decisions be made.
Great answer to one
It is. Very good. Yep. Thanks, Paul. And that's a very good answer. Councillor Reedy.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just going back to the this figure of 50,000. Can I just have clarification, please? Are we talking 50,000 people? As an example, this is 50,000 people or 50,000 rateable properties? Because that's where the money comes in.
So
it's the rateable properties.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, it was people.
Yeah, okay.
Around 38,000 rateable properties, something like that, Colin.
Thanks, Colin.
Okay, thank you.
Shane, you're next on the list.
Well, actually, I want to move the recommendation 1 through to 5. Unless anyone wants them moved separately, I'd like to move them all together.
Any other views? Okay. So we've got to move a seconder. I'm relaxed about that. Any debate on that?
Well, actually, go first.
Discussion. Any discussion? Deputy Mayor's moved. Councillor Hinkson second. No discussion? Oh, okay.
And I'm happy. Well, it's move from second to go first.
Would you like to speak to it, Shane? And
Well, yeah, I would. I just think that all I wanted to say is what we have right now is not working for us. Like we have not a lot of reserves. Local Water done well is going to hit our ratepayers hugely. We need a different system. I see this as an opportunity for change, an opportunity to perhaps attract some of the funding that goes to central government back here. We actually are going to have to. So I think this is a really good opportunity, as Paul said, to look at a model that suits our people and our region. And I am looking forward to fighting for something that is better and new. And actually, I look forward to our communities having a say in this going forward.
Can I just ask a point of clarification before Dave speaks? Paul, government hasn't suggested that we can't go back with anything we like whatever we come up to as a suggestion of what we feel will work for the region. The government hasn't put a model out there and said, this is it. They want us to come back.
They haven't indicated a model for the West Coast specifically. What they have indicated through the reform program is that they would like to see amalgamations and efficiencies through, and they've been really clear on that as well. As to the West Coast in general, no. My understanding is within the next week and a half, we will get a DIA template that basically looks at what information is required for the first tranche of proposals on the 9th of August.
Thanks, Paul. Okay, Councillor Hingston has the last word.
Isn't it true that way? The proposal that's come forward is we participate in the Head Start program, point one. That Head Start program doesn't commit us to anything other than getting involved in the process and getting ahead of the planning stages. And that's the carrot. So we can look for that opportunity to shape what we want in the future. That's not to say we're going to get it. That's not going to say that it's going to commit us to anything. And we'd always, I would think, have contingency plans that back up the first option plan or the preferred plan. There's going to be contingency plans come out. The other thing is that the backstop thing is where we don't want to be. So that's the stick. Carrot, opportunities, let's make them. The stick is the backstop. And if we get hit by that stick, the backstop, we will lose any control of shaping our future. So that's why I'm all for the participation in the Head Start pathway. And I think the opportunity for us to get engaged is just going to be somewhat limited in the time frame with that engagement with our community. And you know, we're absolutely committed to giving our community some sort of say on this to give us guidance on the way forward.
Great, thanks, Dave. So we've had a mover, seconder, discussion.
Yeah, I support the recommendations 1 through to 6, particularly given 3A and 3B. It doesn't commit us to
5.
Sorry,
5. Unless you've got a second one there for us.
Particularly given 3A and 3B, it doesn't commit us to specific reorganisation model at this stage, and it is a first step. But look, this process is far from satisfactory. We're being forced into a process that doesn't suit our needs. It's not, the process does not arise out of what's best for local democracy in New Zealand. It's driven by other motivations that have other goals in mind. And so we have to acknowledge that as we go into the process. There are a few things I've already alluded to, the fact that when we talk about unitary councils in the future, that is, they will be beasts that are quite different to what we now think of as unitary councils. So don't think of Tasman or Marlborough or Nelson as the models for what unitary councils might look like in the future. Thanks very much to Paul for circulating those papers on localism. This is not about localism. This process does not lead to localism. It leads to amalgamations and further centralisation, not decentralisation. Now, it's really interesting, the 2 documents that were circulated, one from local government NZ, you know, a really principled statement in favour of localism, pretty much coming from a social democratic perspective. You know, it's talking about the importance of local decision-making and democracy and so forth. And then you had the other paper coming from the other end of this sort of political spectrum, the neoliberal end of the spectrum, the New Zealand, what's it called? The New Zealand Initiative or something. But actually pointing in the same direction. So you've got, you know, 2 papers from different ends of the kind of philosophical, ideological spectrum, both saying that localism is the way to go. That is the way of the future. Now, let's bear that in mind. This Head Start process is not leading towards localism. So clearly, at some point, we have to go down another direction. Paul, you said that this is the last bite of the cherry and you'll be 80 before you get out of the charts. I think you've been a bit pessimistic. I don't think that's how it's going to work. This is just the start of something. There's going to be quite a lot of debate and policy making going on over the next few years. It's not as bad as you think. Yes, we really do need an evidence-based process based on philosophical commitment to local democracy at the most appropriate local level. And I reiterate, this is not it, but maybe it will help us to get there. Local water done well. I've got to say, I agree with Councillor Hawes, it's going to fall over. There's lots of balls in play here. We need to participate. We need to be part of this, but let's just keep an eye on the big picture.
Thanks, Councillor Hawes.
Yeah. Thanks, Councillor Curnow. And in a large part, I agree. I just wanted to, re-note what you said around the two sides of the opinions having a lot of commonality from the very right and the left side of the. And the other thing to step back, and we always talk about going back in time, but if we just look at what happened, this was going to be the panacea. Amalgamations were going to be the panacea for all ills. And we look over here, up on the wall here, we've got the last council, the end of an era from 1876 to 1989. It was a hell of a long time that council functioned and provided services. It grew. If you go right back to when it started, 1876, the town was in a very early stages. Everything that got done in that place, all the bridges, the roads, everything got done. At that point in time, it was localism, which we've talked about tonight. That localism was also supported from central government, so that the petitions went through to central government for funding, and they funded all sorts of things down at council level, which was exactly what we're talking about, localism. So Councillor Curnow gives a picture around, what the feeling is that this will go nowhere, that there's an agenda behind how it's being done. I'd like to think and hope that at a political level, there's a will to understand that there are options. And we've seen those around the country. We've seen the data within these reports, and they clearly show areas with a high localism have a better functioning financial outcome. So it's directly correlatable between the amount of decision making you put to a local level and the support from central government coming in there as to how it can gear up and get a much better outcome for the district in economic terms, which is why the right agrees with the left. That both outcomes come through loud and clear. One economically from the right, the other socially from the left. So the social and the economic gains and the GDP aligns with well-being for the district. That is why it clearly shows that there are better outcomes. And I would like to think that any government that's going to think and use its brain is going to say, righto, what are we actually here for? Now, if the government turned around and went back on that and decided, no, we just want amalgamation for amalgamation's sake, I would hope people are not that stupid that when they come to vote, they have a choice. And that choice is to say, righto, we agree with the presented facts that localism gains in both directions. And therefore, we don't agree with the central government that will not go down that pathway.
Thank you, Councillor Hawes. Okay, so we've had quite a long discussion. Paul, you've had a bit of a session, so we're ready to vote unless you've got something very brief.
It's just that really unique area, and we've got to come up with a unique solution. And we're gonna push that to government, to people that don't understand this area at all. They're dealing from the bottom of the deck when they say economy of scale, because they played that card in 1989. 1989 amalgamations meant create economy, and they did the exact opposite. So they need to be told that, okay, that simplifying local government might be a sentence, but look at what they've just done recently. Local water done well. They're going to solve water by adding another layer of administration. They've got to be kidding. Another layer of administration will not make anything simpler. You need solutions in this area here. We don't need to wait for the government to start looking at royalties on our assets. When we had royalties on our milling industry, we got the small change. We got the 10% or 20% and the bulk went to government. That needs to be reversed. And the law needs to be changed that we can put royalties on gold or timber or whatever, or fish that leaves this area to go and give labour to the East Coast. And the government can take the small change, being the GST on whatever we receive. Rates, if you like, for a royalty on land. Okay, so within the documents, hopefully we can come up with a plan that changes the law to give us the right to charge royalties on the assets within our region, even if they're assets like fish that are harvested here.
And I think you know they're very good points, and I think all it does is you know solidify what I'm picking up is that we're actually all on board around the table, although we may be saying things a bit differently. We're all articulating that this is our opportunity, you know, to have our say, to think about what's better. Moving the chairs on the Titanic is not going to solve the problem. It's got to be, it's the iceberg that's the problem, and if we can't move it, that's where we're heading. Seeing we're right into analogies tonight. Okay, so we'll put it. Sorry, Dave. Oh, okay, thank you. Good point.
All I just wanted to say is that they're all great solutions, but we're not voting on a solution.
That's right.
To it now. All we're doing is voting on the Head Start pathway, and solutions will come out later.
See, Ray, I told you to get the last word. Good night. I'm just joking. Okay, so I won't read the whole 5 out. Okay, so we'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? That's unanimous. Thank you. And I'd just like to pass on our thanks and acknowledgement to the work that Paul and others are doing, and Simon and others being CEs and other districts are doing as well. There's a whole lot of work going on behind the scenes here to get us to a point where we can have this sort of discussion. And our guys are in the thick of it. It's not business as usual, in case you hadn't noticed. So thank you. Thanks, Paul. Okay, so we move on to agenda item 7.1, Mayor's Monthly Update Report, May 26th. Excuse me. Any questions? Right.
Just a very quick question in relation to paragraph number 27 on page 130. Your ongoing discussions around senior housing. You got any? You want to expand on that? You got anything?
No, I wrote that after there was various discussions. You know, after you wrote an opinion and Dave wrote an opinion, and there were other comments, etc., etc. And really, that was written after we actually voted the other day.
Oh,
as
okay.
well.
I just thought you might.
No, so when I wrote it, there were various discussions, but we are where we are with that, and we know where we're at.
Thanks, I understand.
Yeah. Any other questions, Tony?
I move that the report's taken as read.
Thank you. Shane, Deputy Mayor, second. Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favour? Those against? Thank you. That's passed. We'll move on to 8.1, Chief Executive Officer's report. Are there any questions? Is there anything you would like to talk to, Simon, or just take questions?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess the key thing is to note that as well as my standard report this month, I've also included a resolution around the establishment of the Shareholders Representative Forum for Coast Waters. So this is the next step in the decision-making around coast waters. So it's asking to appoint Mayor Russell and Deputy Mayor and Councillor Reedy to the Shareholders Representative Forum. And I've outlined in the report the input obviously that council will have ahead of those meetings, but that body forms part of the makeup of the Shareholders Representative Forum, which is a key part of the establishment of the entity. But if there's any questions around that, I can try and answer them, or anything else in my report.
So Simon, the terms of reference, or that's not the right way of putting it, but the letter that will go to the new board of the water CCO, given what the expectations of the shareholders are, that will come to council, be agreed before it's presented from Buller.
Yeah, so that can be through that body, come back to council for input.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any questions for Simon? Councillor Reedy.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Actually, for Simon Bastian, if I may, please, on page 160, and new policies underway. RMA compliance and enforcement policy. With the RMA going through some changes, what is the driver behind having to have a policy if within about a year or so it may be changed?
Yeah, through your worship, you are correct. That actual policy has been drafted but put on hold until we have a clear vision of what the future looks like. So it's work in progress, but I'll put it on hold.
Number 2, if I may, please, Simon, again, the low pressure sewer policy. I know we had the workshop on this. I wasn't aware that we were actually going ahead with these low pressure sewer. I can't remember what the term was for them now, but in the event of, for new builds, I believe it was 4. So where was the authority to go ahead with this? I just can't remember it. Sorry, Simon.
Through the chair, my recollection of the workshop, the outcome of that was effectively, well, the purpose of the workshop was to advise that we were working on a low pressure sewer policy, and that policy would come to council for adoption, and that will be coming shortly.
Okay, and one other question, if I may, please, and that's on page 161, the last bullet point, master planning work proceeding. Now, when we've been talking about master planning previously, 2 aspects. One was seed funding. The second one was land corp discussions regarding the land where, if you like, we're looking at. So, seed funding. What's happened with that? And the other one is land corp discussions regarding Bald Hill.
Yeah, Pete Paul's just left the room. So there is ongoing conversations with Pāmu Land. We have an MOU already established with them. In terms of so we haven't had an updated discussion with them for a wee while. In terms of funding, we are looking at exploring various options, and we have confidential conversations happening with various organisations, more Wellington based than anywhere else, in terms of progressing to stage 3. It's very conscious that we're not looking to add any cost to the ratepayers, but if there's external centralised funding from some other source, we know what we need to do for stage 3, just don't have any funding to proceed down that track.
Thanks, Simon.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions for Simon? Okay, so I'm happy to move that Simon's report be received. Seconded by Councillor Curnow. Beat Councillor Hingston by a nose. So if there's no further discussion, we'll put that to the vote. All those in favour?
You've got 3 resolutions, but they're not on your run sheet, I think.
No, they're not on my run sheet.
So
no.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so the first that the Chief Executive Officer dated,
you've done that one.
Done that one. Number 2, approves the establishment of the Shareholders Representative Forum for West Coast Waters Limited. and appoints Mayor Russell, Deputy Mayor Shane Barry and Councillor Colin Reedy to the Shareholders Representative Forum. Any further discussion? All those in favour? Those against? Thanks, Simon. Thank you, that's passed. Okay, we're on to elected members update. Sorry?
I'll move.
You move. I'm happy to second. Any discussion? Deputy Mayor?
Just that on there, I had put in an expression of interest in joining the LGNZ Resilient Communities, Economies and Environments Advocacy and Reference Group. And I've been accepted. I have no idea what that means.
Congratulations.
Well, except for the fact that it might give us a forum for discussions around resilience going forward, and it also might be the opportunity to bring some information back. But it was kind of really more around things like the master plan, that it would give us a forum to maybe voice what we were doing and the opportunities around it. So it'll be interesting to see if it, you know, how much it entails and if it is any use to us.
Great, thanks. Any further discussion? Councillor Rutherford? Phil?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Look, I didn't provide any commentary into this report because there was very little happening. But I
Sorry for breaking up on us for some reason. I don't think we're okay. We're okay this end. I think we're getting a bit of bird interference from your end.
That I got rid of the bird. Can you hear me?
No, it's getting very bad, Phil.
Well, I'll tell you what. Forget it.
Okay. That worked. No, just kidding. I don't know what the problem is, Phil. It's really garbled. You can obviously hear us properly, but I'm not sure what that. Okay, so is there any further discussion? Okay, we've got a mover and a seconder, have we?
Yep. Councillor Kerno and you, Secretary.
Okay, thank you. So we'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? Okay, thanks everybody. That's carried.
Councillor Rutherford and Councillor Reedy.
Councillor Rutherford and Reedy voted yes.
Everyone was for.
Everyone was for. Yeah, thanks guys. Okay, so we move on now to public response forum. So we had two. We had one from Alan Donaldson. So we'll talk about that first. Are there any comments, questions, suggestions? Councillor Langston.
Thanks. I just wanted to ask Anthony in regards to the presentation that we had, what work are we currently undertaking that would address the issues that, sorry, I forget his name now. Alan raised.
So we have, through the chair, projects going on. Excuse me. In particular, we've got what's now called the Giles Creek Alternative Water Supply Project. And the LTP that was defined as the North Branch project, following the information that council was presented as part of the Takuha report, which concluded effectively from a water point of view that we do not currently have sufficient water to supply Westport. There are technical reasons which make the North Branch not as simple as was presented, although it was really good to hear his view. We need to look at what alternatives we do have. The wider aspect of that is as Buller develops and as developments occur, for example, at the Cape, Elmer Road and any other areas like that, the current water supply is less likely to be a useful option for those areas, and other locations might be needed as well. But the current project is called the Giles Creek Alternate, to look at how we can bolster supply in that catchment to meet the needs, the current needs of Westport.
Thanks. Anthony, I'm happy to work with you, but for a response to Ellen. Are there any further comments or discussions on Ellen's? Paul?
I'd certainly like to take up a viewing of the area with Alan, if that could be arranged.
Okay, I'll talk to Anthony about that. We'll come back to you on that one. Thank you. You can remind me about that, Anthony. That'd be great. Okay, thank you. And now we're on to Jeanette Donaldson's, and that's what I read out. I think there are quite a few things here that I staff can go back and respond to, unless anybody's got any questions or suggestions. I'm happy to circulate this if I think it's already been circulated online, hasn't it? Yep.
Yeah.
And there were some photos that were attached to it that were circulated too. So if you would like to respond in the next, say, 48 hours, anything that you take out of that, I'm happy to work with staff and respond to the points that have been raised. Is everybody happy with that? Okay, that's fine. Be with you in a tip. So that takes care of the public response. Yeah, we're moving on to make sure I'm right here, Simon. Public excluded reports. So at this point, the recommendation is that public be excluded from the following parts of the proceedings of this meeting. Agenda item 10.1 IAF tender evaluation, prepared by Jess Curtis. The reasons for confidentiality, Lagoima section 7, item 2 and H. Are there any questions? Shane's moved. Seconded. Discussion.
Well, I'd like it declared to the public, the topic. I mean, the amounts have to be kept excluded, but the reason the topic being discussed should be open to the public.
Simon, would you like to comment to that?
The purpose of this report is to award a tender, and the tender is a confidential matter. There may be other conversations that there are other conversations that have been raised, but they're not specifically part of this report. So the report has to remain confidential.
I would take it then that we can expose to the public that we're considering a tender to do a certain amount of.
Okay, so I've read out the draft recommendation. Thanks for that, Paul. We've got advice from Caitlin there. Any further discussions, Dave?
Yeah, I agree. And part of Paul's sentiment is that we should make it the absolute minimum necessary considered under public exclusion, and we should do everything as open and transparent. In this case, however, I agree with staff recommendations that we should take it offline and discuss it, because it is very sensitive and it would be best done publicly excluded.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but this is no different to discussing any other tender result. They have always Anthony.
Sorry, if I could just add, possibly for clarity, the project that we are talking about is one of the projects that is discussed at each RAC meeting and has been for some time. So that part of it is not hidden or not available to public. So that's been subject of reports and questioning in the past.
If I may, I will just add that there is a part of the public excluded reports that's always discussed at the end as to what's going to be released to the public. So that's a discussion that you can have towards the end as to exactly what content within that can be released that's not subject to commercial sensitivity.
Thanks, Chrissy. Okay, thank you. Okay, is there any further discussion? Do we have a mover for that, Georgia? Okay, so you got no more to add? No more to add? All those in favour? Those against? Okay, that's unanimous. Oh, sorry, Paul, I missed Paul, abstain. Okay, thanks, everybody. We'll go into now public excluded. Thank you, everybody online for sticking with us, and thank you, Alan. 5 minutes. And we'll take a 5-minute break. Okay, back here, say 1:45. Yeah. Thanks, everyone.